Disclaimer. This show is for discussion and entertainment purposes only. The Finding Gnosis Show is a platform for open discussion, exploration, and opinion sharing. The views expressed by hosts, guests, and participants are personal opinions and do not constitute professional, medical, legal, or financial advice. All topics discussed are only intended to spark curiosity, entertain, and encourage independent thought. If any subject interests you, we strongly advise conducting your own thorough research using reliable and professional sources. Critical thinking and due diligence is key. Stay curious, stay informed, be well, be lucky, and don't be an arsehole.
Relax and take a moment to go inwards, seek inspiration from what is going on inside your mind. Allow thoughts and feelings to marinate in your conscious awareness. What comes to the fore? Meditate on whatever signs and symbols appear in your mind's eye. Relax and meditate. And when you feel ready, when you feel compelled to say something, click on the link in the live chat to speak to us. Live chat to speak. Hello, hello, hello. I do hope you are exceedingly well. This is the Finding Gnosis show. We are trying to find out what is going on in this strange existence that we are apparently sharing together. So if you would like to join the conversation, the link is in the live chat. We already have somebody here. Jacob, I believe. Jacob, you have clicked the link. You're on the show. How are you doing, sir?
Good, I'm doing good.
So, Jacob, what is it you'd like to say to the world today?
Just to have a good rest of the day. And I'm new to this, kind of shy.
Jacob, how old are you?
18. I turned 18 September 12th.
Right, Jacob, we kind of like people to be over the age of 25 here, to be honest with you, Jacob.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Jacob.
Uh,
So I'm going to have to let you go because you sound young. You don't
yeah.
sound like a child, but you sound young. And yeah, I mean, we want our brains fully developed here. So, Jacob, go away and enjoy your evening and take care. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again, everybody, to Finding Gnosis. We are trying to find out what is going on in this strange existence that we are all apparently sharing together. I do have a guest on the show, and I'm delighted he's shown up. I'm a big fan of what I've seen of his YouTube channel. So I will bring him on without delay. Just let me remove that. And Mr. Paul Pixton, you are live on the Finding Gnosis show.
Hello,
Welcome,
thank you very
sir.
much for welcome. Thank
Welcome. You are an extremely interesting individual. You talk a lot
Uh,
about consciousness, what it means to be existence, what is going on. And yes, you're a humble man as well, by the sounds of that hesitation there when I said that. Paul, what is going on?
well, thank you very much for inviting me, and yeah, I guess I'm quite genuine, unusual on my YouTube. Uh, mm, I guess asking me what's going on. Uh, Maybe you can work with me and give me a clue in which direction you want to actually go in there.
I don't really want to infect your mind with my biases or, perhaps miseducation. It's just a question, Paul. Answer it how you see fit. There's no pressure, brother. And then we can go from
Hmm.
there.
Well, give me a clue on what you're kind of trying to get to, because I suppose it's quite a big picture.
Yeah,
What's going on
it
in
is a bit.
which area?
In general, as much as I would say, in general, what is going on? What is this strange existence?
What is this existence? Uh, hmm, I. It's a pretty broad picture to add. What is it you're trying to suggest? What is going on with the human minds, or what is going on in the world? What is our purpose?
Really and truly,
Which
Paul, I don't want to give you too much of a directive on the matter. It is what pops up in your mind. Don't take it too seriously. What pops into your mind when that question comes to you, and we'll take it from there.
hmm, yeah, I suppose you kind of put me on the spot, really. There. Uh, yeah, I kind of need some kind of direction to go in. So I'm afraid I might have to push you.
Okay, no problem. No problem, Paul. No problem. Anybody else want to come on? The link is in the live chat. We can have a conversation together, obviously. Paul, do you have any beliefs in relation to this existence? That there is more going on than meets the eye, perhaps? Do you have any beliefs in relation to purpose, spirituality, these types of things?
Ah, I see. I see. Right. Yes. Well, I spoke before on one of my videos that perhaps there is something beyond belief. Uh, mm, I remember some time ago when I first started doing all of my work, the very first thing that I started off with was somebody asked me the question: if a tree falls down in a forest and nobody is there to hear it, does it make a sound? So I did spend some time on this question, and I realized that if a tree does fall down and nobody's there, it doesn't make a sound, but it does make a vibration. But only when the vibration hits the mind does it create a sound. So I started to realize that the world outside is only created in our minds. In some sense, the world outside triggers something that our brain can read, and our brain creates a world. Only our world, but it does seem to be that there's a world beyond our own mind. That perhaps with a brain we can't see. So I did question, what is this world behind our own brain? Like, for instance, let's say if I look at a tree, I see a tree, I'm familiar with a tree, but I also know that it's only my brain that can make the image of a tree. But what's really there? perhaps it's just energy. I don't really know, but I kind of figure that there probably is a spiritual world there. But as long as I've got a brain, then I can't really see the spiritual world because my brain continuously tries to create a world that I'm familiar with. So I guess what I'm saying is there probably is a spirit world there. But as long as we've got a brain, then maybe we just can't see what it is. Maybe it's energy. I don't know.
Interesting. So you view the body as perhaps something that blocks us from knowing what is going on.
Well, I suppose in one sense I could say that the brain probably blocks from what's really going on, but I'm not really too sure about the body because if we say that there is
Sorry, that's
something
what I
that
meant.
exists, oh, okay. So if we say that there is something that exists beyond the tree that I see, there is something that's there, whether we call it energy or something else. And this is probably the same as the body itself. So I look at my body and I name it a body, but that's only what the brain can see. So I do wonder, beyond the brain, what really is the body? It's probably the same spirit as what the tree is behind the labeling it as a tree.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So what does that say then? That to me says the differentiator here is the conscious awareness, is it?
Well, I don't really know if we could actually find this this spirit world whilst we've actually got a brain. I think that we can move closer to it, and I think that's probably our purpose to try to move as close as we can. So, in other words, to separate ignorance and try to move towards what really is going on. But I don't think we could actually make it as such into the spirit world as long as we've got a brain. I think that many people who live in ignorance and completely deny it, when they finally reach their time of actually going to the spirit world, that's probably why they have to come back here and relive the life again, I guess.
Interesting. So, Paul, before we go any further, I suppose we should talk about spirituality. What do you mean when you talk about spirituality, the spirit world, that kind of thing?
Well, firstly, I suppose I kind of reject half of the idea of spirituality just because the word is so loaded. If we look at the mind itself, in the world that we live in at the moment, we live in ignorance. We live in the ego. And if we was to get rid of the ego, we can still have uh, our own imagination, let's say. We can compare ourselves with new ideas by thought, as long as the thought doesn't try to determine anything, I guess. But then we also have another mind, I guess, which is just purely free, uh, purely grounded. It kind of works on feelings. And I think we need to try to connect to that mind a little bit more to try to move closer rather than living in the ego and trying to
So, is that
create
like
our.
emotivism? Everything has emotions, feelings at the basis of it. Is that what you're kind of getting to?
Yeah, well, maybe. I suppose we need to look at what emotions are.
Out there. That's an interesting thing to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've been deluded a lot of times with emotions because a lot of us believe that emotions are more like the anger, violence, desire, and so on. I just think that these emotions are really related to the ego. But I think that what we should really be more connected to is feelings. I don't know whether
And
you can
what is
join
the
in there.
kind of what is the difference? Yeah, what is the difference between an emotion and a feeling then, in your view?
I find that emotions are a typical way that we kind of feel emotions being related to the ego are more reward and punishment. So if I have my own idea of myself, then if I was to find some idea which is possibly desire or happiness, then I think that that would kind of promote my ego as such. It would sustain it, build it. But then if I have something like anger, somebody throws something at me that I don't like, then this is kind of a criticism to my ego. Uh, mm, so this would be a threat. I suppose what I'm kind of saying is that typical sort of emotions that we have are more based on reward and punishment, uh, mm, which could be a threat or build our ego, but feelings are something very different. I don't know whether
Are
you can.
are emotions built on top of feelings?
Ah,
Are
are
feelings the
emotions built
foundation
on top
for
of feelings?
emotions, in your view?
No, no, no.
Which one is inherently, let's just say, something that we're more consciously aware of? Is it emotions or feelings? I mean, to me, in my ignorance, I would say they're the same thing, but you think there's a differentiation between them. You would say,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, definitely. There's definitely a differential between them. You see, as far as I'm concerned, emotions are related to the ego, and the ego is psychological security. So the ego is trying to focus on something because it doesn't want to see something else. So, in a sense, we could say the ego is like looking through a tube. It kind of focuses in one area because we don't want to look at the rest. So, in the sense with emotions, the typical kind of emotions that we normally use, these keep us away from real feelings. If I was to
Interesting.
say that something happened to me some time ago, which was kind of traumatizing or quite horrible. Uh, if I was to actually look at that and try to relive it, then this would be a feeling. But I don't want to look at it. I don't want this feeling again because this feeling is quite horrible and I can't face it.
Okay, so say for example, sorry for butting in, Paul, but so
Okay.
say for example, we have an underlying feeling of lacking or sadness. Yeah, that's the underlying feeling, but the emotions we have may not, at first instance, depict that feeling. It may be, for example, that our emotion is, I don't know, give me any emotion, maybe naively like happy. Maybe we might be happy, but our feeling could still be one of longing or sadness at the base level. Is that possible?
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
deep down, we could be completely
so
sad.
yeah. So is the feeling perhaps more of a long-term kind of phenomenon, and the emotion is perhaps the fleeting element? It's a bit like
Uh,
mood and emotion. There's a difference there as well because mood is a long term thing. And emotions are something that come and go. Right? Is that the way it is? Emotions flitter into being and come and go, but the
yeah,
feeling is something that is a substrate of your being.
yeah. feelings are really kind of just there in the background permanently. But once again, with the ego being psychological security and all emotions really are just stories connected to the ego, then we're trying to avoid reliving events. I suppose if I was to give an example of kind of a feeling, if I was to completely drop the idea of emotions and feelings and actually try to relive an event, then I would kind of watch the event inside of my mind. And as I'm watching the event, I'm also feeling it as I go through. And all these feelings kind of sit there permanently. It's only when I actually revisit it that it changes it. But obviously, most people, they don't want to relive the events again to actually feel the feeling. So we basically turn the original events into a story, and we relive the story instead because it's much safer. And in this story, it gives the emotions, not feelings.
Can you perhaps give a kind of narrative for this? Maybe a story, perhaps, to tell us, like, give us
Okay.
a worldly example, perhaps, of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So something happened to me a few years ago. Not anything major. I'm probably not going to quite tell it right, just for the idea of what I'm saying here. But somebody came up to me and created a scene, and they disappeared. Now, right now, even though that was 3 years ago, I can go into that exact place and I can watch it happen again. So whilst I'm watching it, I can watch his facial movements, the type of smile that he had, the way that he moved, the tenseness of his body, the way that he run away. And I can completely relive that through right now, even though it was 3 years ago. But if I wasn't prepared to face this, let's say if it was too traumatic, then I would avoid it. So instead, what the ego tries to do is instead of reliving the event, it creates a story. Because as long as I just face the story, then it's kind of safe from reliving the event and recreating the trauma again. And I think this is what emotions basically are. They're just a safe place to be where we can just relive our own stories rather than the actual feeling itself.
But what about when the emotions are negative? People feel angry. It doesn't make you feel good, does it? I mean, it doesn't necessarily make you feel good. And is that not just adding to the problematic feelings that may be at the base of these emotions?
Well, if we look at anger
Are
itself,
you saying Are you saying the ego is basically creating more chaos sometimes, so that it doesn't have to deal with the
absolutely,
underlying bad feeling? Oh.
absolutely, without a shadow of doubt. I mean, in a sense, what the ego's doing is because it separates you away from feelings. In a sense, it kind of splits your mind in two. So you're not seeing your real feelings, but you're creating a new version, which is just your story. But this separation from the two creates anxiety. So anxiety is basically when you know the truth, in the sense what I just mentioned before, that you view the feelings, that's the truth, but instead you create a story. So this split between the two versions creates anxiety. But because this creates anxiety, and we don't want to face anxiety, we then create more stories, which then creates more anxiety, which then creates more stories and creates more anxiety, and so on and so on. And we just get trapped in this
So
cycle.
it just keeps going. So
Just keeps on going.
in a kind of pragmatic sense here, are you suggesting people try and become aware of their true feelings as a kind of a conscious awareness, rather than being driven by these feelings in the background that we're not being consciously aware of? Are you suggesting that we have to become consciously aware of our true feelings?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm definitely suggesting that we have to become.
And what if they are, as I said, what if those feelings are sadness? You know, are you saying your goal, your job is to try and change those feelings? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we can't change the feelings as such. We just have to understand them. You see, if we don't face our feelings, which are hidden in the background, they keep on playing out, and the ego as such is trying to create new stories to avoid it, but the feelings kind of still stay there. But we can, I don't know quite so much change them, but we could change the whole way that it affects us by facing it. So, in a sense, if I was to be an angry person, and I say I want to not be angry, then I could chase not angry as much as I want, but the anger will not be affected. But if I say, let's have a look at the anger, let's face the anger, then that just looking at it will disperse the anger, and then the anger will fade away, and then I could become something new.
How do you know when you're actually in touch with your feelings, though, Paul? How do you know when you're actually in touch with your true feelings, and it's not just some emotion, you know, masquerading as your feeling, your true feeling? Sorry.
Well, if I was to just be in touch with the emotion of it, in the basis of like what the ego would create, it would be a story. I would just be telling myself a story and trying to relive the actual story. But being connected to your feelings, to me, would seem to be reliving them. I think that's why we're always trying to run away from things, I guess.
Okay.
I suppose this is the problem with trauma. We go to a therapist to help us. A therapist tries to get you deep in there so that you can really actually look at it and relive it, because the reliving the event actually changes. Well, I shouldn't say changes the event, but changes the way that you view it. But without having that somebody push you into it, I guess we try to run away from it by just creating more diversions and stories and avoidance and so on.
Yeah. Okay. These feelings at the base level of our being that are driving us, Paul, at least psychologically. What about not being able to understand them? Because, Paul, is it possible that these feelings come from a period of your life that you can't even remember? For example, you know, it could be in your childhood. You know, these feelings might not be. They might be something you can't really figure out or work with. Like you may not. You may get to your base level feeling. Okay. I suppose what I'm trying to get to, Paul, is how did that feeling come to be? That's the first question. How did that feeling get there? Okay. And again, we can move on from that afterwards. What can you do about it? I mean, you may not know how it got there, is what I'm suggesting. And then it becomes a situation of, well, what do you do with it?
Well, I suppose the feelings are already there. There's not a lot you can kind of do to change them or really to run away from them, because they really are just there, kind of gnawing away at you all the time. So I suppose it's not really trying to find the feelings, but trying to find the event. I see, when I went to therapy, which I did for about 2 years, whenever I went into a therapy session, what I did was I would pretty much just close my eyes and wait for something to appear. And quite often something would. Only what would appear in my mind was I would see a child, which was obviously me, and I would be able to see them. My therapist would quite often bump in and say, well, how old is the child? And I would look at the child and I would say, it's probably about 6 years old. And then the therapist would say, well, what's happening now? And I would say, well, the child kind of looks really sad. Obviously, reminding the child is still me when I was younger, but me facing this, I'm reliving the event. So, in a sense, the feelings are still there in the child, which also means that the feelings are still there in me. But I'm aware at this point that I've been running away from them so long. So, at this position, I'm now facing them and saying, let's just see, let's watch what's going on.
Yeah, but Paul, what if you're basing your analysis on something that didn't happen or isn't real? You've heard of the phenomenon of false memories, right? What if in your exploration of this deepest level of your psyche, yeah, you are conjuring up something from your imagination that didn't happen, never existed, and you're working from that? Does that matter? That it may not have happened or it may not, does that matter is what I'm suggesting.
Yeah,
Asking,
no, I
sorry.
agree. No, I understand what you're saying there, but I think there might be some sort of confusion in a sense because when I was saying before that the ego likes to create stories on top of the original version, so we tend to repeat these stories, and as we repeat these stories, we tend to change them along the way. But these are only our own take on it, which is based on our stories. But I think that if you was to actually view the situation with seeing and feeling, then it is the original version. It's not being tampered with, if that makes any sense.
I'm not understanding that, Paul. How are you seeing
Okay.
it? Is it when you close your eyes, when you were in therapy, when you saw that child? Do you think that was the real version? Because I'm saying it might not have been.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I
saying it
agree
might.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
saying that could have been
yeah, I
another.
think,
That could have been another manifestation of your ego, like just creating a story to, as I said, divert your attention. As you've already said that this is possibly going on constantly. What I'm trying to ask is, how do you know when you've mined down to what matters? Or is it the case, Paul, that you take each of these, as just to say, apparitions in your mind's eye, you take each of them and work with them and see how relevant they are to you as an individual now, if they're conjuring up something that matters or should matter for you, and therefore it doesn't really matter whether it happened or not. What matters is whether the ideation from it is fruitful in helping you carve a path forward in your life that is beneficial.
well, I suppose going back to the beginning of what you just said, how do you know whether it's really not just a story or some regeneration of what you've done? It's kind of hard to explain this. It's really easy to see that the difference between thought and seeing. And maybe it's hard for us to work out what I mean by seeing and feeling. I quite often relate this to a dream. If you really look at what a dream actually is, you don't actually see the dream of what you're living in your dream life. Not in the way that you would see what's happening on the TV screen or the way that you would see with your eyes. If you really look into a dream, you'll notice that you're just kind of feeling your way through the dream, although it seems more realistic than a lot of other things. So in a dream, you're kind of reliving events. Maybe it is like adjusted in some way, I guess. But as far as feeling goes, you're reliving your feelings. And what did in therapy, I was genuinely reliving it, in a sense, from an outside position, I guess. But I was really reliving it. I don't really think there's any room for twisting that story. like we would do with creator stories. It seems very obvious to me that with our stories, we can twist, manipulate, change, so on, very easily, and believe it. But if we were actually see it in the way that I described, I don't think you can change it. I really don't.
Okay. When you say dreams are based on things that have happened, is that what you said? From my understanding, dreams, especially I believe during our rapid eye movement phase and during our deep sleep phases, we're actually thinking about what is going on in our present day life a lot of the time, maybe. And yeah, there will be deep seated anxieties and feelings, good or bad, that will be affecting what is going on in our dreams. But to say that they are what has happened, I think that's a bit of a stretch, Paul. But because sometimes I have dreams where I'm doing all crazy like stuff that isn't even possible in real life, you know. Now, what I will say to you though is, Paul, they are based on what has happened in some ways, because no, in actual fact, they are based on what has happened in my life, in that they are built from my experiences and my observations. So everything I've dreamt of, yeah, is basically made from building blocks of that which I've experienced or observed. So if I'm flying through the sky on a magic carpet, I've never done that, yeah. But obviously, I maybe watched Aladdin or something when I was a kid, you know. So the idea has come into my head from my observational experiences. So that's what I think is going on in dreams. Okay, it's just your mind. So the tools of your dreams are basically what you've experienced, what information, data basically is in your brain from your observation, from your experience. But again, I don't think you can say these things have happened if these things are appearing in your mind's eye. But what I can say, from, as I said, this is just what I think, is that they may well be food for thought. They may be showing you something about yourself, about your life, okay, that is relevant to your ongoing journey. So it may be trying to wake you up. So, and I'm not just talking about dreams when we're asleep. I'm talking about when you went to your therapist and you supposedly remembered something, yeah, or you saw a vision when you closed your eyes. You can't be sure that actually happened because it's your imagination showing you something, yeah. Okay. This vision that appeared in your mind's eye, it may be serving a deeper agenda than you think, or then it may be that it's trying to give you a message somehow that may not be on the face of it obvious, you know. Like, you cannot say to me for sure that what you saw in that therapy session actually happened, but you can say that it left you feeling something was important, right? That there was it basically sent you a message saying, something is important. Here's something that you should consider, think about, marinate in your mind. Do you like, or was it just a case that it just popped into your head because of the power of suggestion from the therapist? It was the easiest thing
No,
to
yeah,
think about.
I would say definitely not. Without a doubt, it wasn't anything that was suggested. I pretty much just sit there and just wait for something to appear. I know you're saying with the dreams that obviously you could be flying in the sky and so on and so on, and obviously that didn't really happen, and I totally agree. Uh, but maybe we just focus on feelings itself rather than the flying in the sky and so on. And I suppose within therapy,
Yeah, I suppose you've kind of hit a nail on the head there, and it's something we didn't talk about. There is a whole load of stuff about dream interpretation, and things that we see in dreams have deeper meaning. Apparently, I mean,
yeah,
Jungian psychology, Jungian philosophy, if you want to call it that, has ideas about, these drives, deep drives within us, these archetypes that appear again and again in human lives, and whether it's by some mystical force or whether by some kind of occurrence of evolutionary psychology, these things appear again and again in in the human mind, in the human imagination, and have a relevance apparently to give us a message, or to send us in a certain direction.
You know, what I find interesting of what you just kind of mentioned there is, I just said about maybe we should focus more on the feelings in the dream rather than kind of flying in the sky. And I think this is probably also the same in our awakened life as well, rather than focusing on our stories that we create, we should also just more focus on the feelings that we feel rather than the stories. And perhaps it's somewhat similar in a dream as well. We don't need to worry too much about flying in the sky, but more just concentrate on the feelings that it gives us.
So you're saying in your awakened life, we should be going with our feelings, our gut, as our driver. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we should. I mean, obviously, in situations like, you go to work and obviously you have to use some sort of thought and follow along with what everyone's doing to some kind of extent. But if someone says to you, well, you should do this, maybe take advantage of a customer or whatever, and obviously you get this feeling that goes, no, 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 I don't like this. And then, clearly we say, well, we should really be focusing on our feelings, because if I decide to go along with what somebody else tells me to do and it's not what I believe, then in a sense I'm kind of creating sin in my own mind and splitting my own mind, which creates anxiety. And this is a path I wouldn't really want to be choosing.
That's interesting. You brought up the notion of sin, and you related it to hurting yourself or something, or causing a problem.
Sin is quite.
Explain what you think sin is.
I think sin is quite a big deal. I think we kind of dismiss it very easily. Sin, I think our general belief is, we think that if we do some harm to somebody or we lie or so on, then this creates a sin. But it's not quite right. I suppose if I was to harm someone, like, I don't know, harm you, obviously, I'm sorry, I don't want to, but if I was to harm you, if I face that harming you, I just say, yeah, okay, I did it. That's exactly what happened. And there's not really a sin, in a sense, in my mind.
Say that again. Sorry, I think I lost you. If you what that sin? Sorry.
What I was saying was, let's just say that if I was to hurt you, if I was to face that fully, okay, that's what I did. Exactly. That's exactly. Then it isn't really a sin. Sin is more avoidance. So if I was to hurt you and say, oh, well, it's your fault, not mine, then this is kind of causing a divide in my own mind from the truth to creating my own version of the events and putting the blame on you. And it's more of a lying to the self what creates the sin, rather than what harm or what lie I do to somebody else.
That's after the fact. Okay. Now you're saying if you confront something you've done and admit it, that is enough to say you haven't sinned. Are you serious? You don't think that intention and acting on bad intention is a sin in and of itself, whether or not you admit it afterwards?
If you face your sin,
I don't necessarily.
So if I hurt you and I face that sin and say that's exactly what it is, if I really truly face it, my feelings is what I'm saying. I face my feelings. I'm not going to hurt you again. It's enough of a punishment. I don't want to.
I think you might be mixing up. I don't mean to be patronizing here, but it sounds like you're talking about rehabilitation of oneself, What you're talking about is honest rehabilitation. You have been fully rehabilitated as an individual if you face the sin and then decide you do not want to repeat it. That to me is different from, the sin itself, or saying whether the sin or not happened. What you're saying to me there is, you committed a sin or a misdeed against another willfully, intentionally, and then afterwards you had some regret and you decided in your heart and mind that you didn't want to do that again. That to me is rehabilitation of oneself through experience. But the funny thing is, it's nothing to be proud of, because it didn't occur because you are a virtuous person. It didn't occur because you wanted it to happen or you tried to make it happen. It was actually built out of shit. It was built out of something bad. So although it is a happy ending in some ways, it's a stretch to say you did anything good, because
I don't know about
it's caused by bad.
Sorry. I don't know about rehabilitation though. I mean, if you look back at something that is traumatizing to you, obviously don't look back at it now because it's not good. But if you look back at something that's traumatizing, that's enough to tell you don't do it again. I mean, it's only when we don't look back at something that's traumatizing, we don't face it, then we don't learn from our mistakes, and we end up doing the same thing again because we didn't face it. So obviously, what I'm saying is, if I was to do harm to you, whether it be intentionally or not, and I was really to face my own feelings, then it kind of, in a sense, it creates a trauma that I don't want to face. But if I do face it, I'll go, well, you know what? This has harmed me a lot, and I don't want to do that again because I don't. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. But what I'm interested in, Paul, and I really thank you for your, how willing you are to explore these deep thoughts. Now it's interesting because when you talk about trauma, what I find interesting, Paul, is a lot of people, when they talk, oh, my trauma, they're talking about things that actually happened to them. Now, I think it's quite admirable that you're bringing up trauma in the sense of, things you've done to other people and you feel bad about. If only people were going to therapists about, because, most people go to therapy because of things they've experienced, but they could, there's a lot of things. Nobody here is a saint. Sorry. We've all done things and said things to people that hurt them. So wouldn't it be wonderful if people took your line of thought and actually, tried to think deeply about what they'd done? And I suppose you could say it would be good if they felt as traumatized by what they'd done as what had happened to them.
That's what they've done
Because
to others.
maybe that would, in some sense, heal them, from both aspects. Now, Paul, I was going to say something there based on this, but forgive me, my mind has gone adrift because Nibbles has, for some reason, wrote Saint Bernard in the in the live chat. Well, you really threw me off course with that, Nibbles. That came out of nowhere. So anyway, Paul. Paul, where were we? We were talking about trauma. Okay, now this trauma.
Whether I could, do you want me to butt in here, or shall I just let you carry on?
Please.
Well, he was mentioning about the trauma, and a lot of people kind of think about the things that's happened to them, and they also think about trauma as being something severe. I don't know, like I've just been hit by a car or something. But I feel that there's a lot of misconceptions with language as such, which confuse us. Because why should we say that a trauma is something that only happens that's serious, something really bad? Surely little things like embarrassment or shame or something could be trauma. But then we do it also with different things like, let's say, narcissism.
Is it not a matter of degree? Like, it's basically how it impacts.
Of course, absolutely.
So what may be
we should
little
say
for
it's
you
a
may be
spectrum.
big for me, etc. And it's actually, to me, trauma is that which makes us somewhat dysfunctional. Okay, that's what the criterion is.
Well,
Does
this
it
is the
make
point
you
which I'm kind
psychologically
of saying.
dysfunctional?
This is what I'm kind of saying. Why do we do this? Why don't we just say that trauma is trauma, but it's on the spectrum? Like I was just saying with narcissism, we say that a narcissist is only at the far end of narcissism, but then it misses out the rest of narcissism itself because we're all narcissistic in some way. But it gives us an excuse to ignore that narcissism because we can blame it all on the
Oh,
major
I get what you're
narcissist.
saying. I
Or
get what you're saying here, Paul. Actually, so you're saying we may well have micro, mini, and small traumas going on, like maybe even constantly in our life, that are somehow the building blocks for our stress and strain, psychological hurt and injury. That
yeah,
perhaps we're not dealing with. They're the manageable things that
yeah,
perhaps we could be dealing with, because we're focusing on the massive traumas, when in actual fact,
exactly.
the massive trauma may be something that we can't deal with because A, it happened so long ago in the past. B, it's not relevant to our life now. We're different people. You know, we may be bigger, stronger, older, wiser. And if those types of things happened again, we wouldn't actually present in the same way as a victim. Maybe wouldn't be a victim at this stage of our life. Now, Paul, I think that's actually a beautiful kernel. At first, I didn't know what the hell you were going on about there, brother. But I think that's a beautiful thought. Thank you for that, because when we look at supposed major trauma, we do take our foot off the pedal in some degree, and we forget that this journey through life involves trying to stay functional and dealing with the micro trauma, the smaller traumas, right, that are going, the annoyances, we'll call them, right, is very important, because those things, if not looked after, if not dealt with, will build up and become a colossal wave of, debilitation that will knock you down and probably direct you towards the major trauma that may be irresolvable.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got to remember we get caught in a cycle. It only takes one little thing to trigger us off, and then we create our own stories. Well, then these stories create more anxiety, and then the anxiety creates more stories. So, yeah, we tumble into it. But when you're saying about, we quite often focus on the way that things have been described, like a major trauma, and then we don't even consider the fact of the small traumas, or we consider a severe narcissist, and we don't consider ourselves to be maybe slightly narcissistic. I mean, this kind of goes back to talking about sin again. Supposedly, I don't know how to put this. I need to be very careful here. Somebody died to carry our sins. Is that delicate enough?
No. We can talk about Jesus. Yeah, Jesus
Can we talk
died.
about that?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, the way that I kind of see that, I do actually believe Jesus was a real person and probably, very much alive. But the stories can be slightly changed, I guess. When somebody died on the cross to carry our sins, if we look at the only way of avoiding our sins, which doesn't actually avoid sin, it just gives us the perception that we don't have to face them. The only way we can avoid our sin is knowledge. So, firstly, we have a feeling that says, I've done wrong. Let's say, for instance, I take advantage of a customer. My feeling says I've done wrong. But then I go and say, well, that's just business. So that knowledge helps me escape my sin. I now don't feel bad. I'm okay. I'm all good. And let's say a person in the army goes and causes harm to other people, and then says, "Well, the sergeant told me to. He carries the sin, not me. I'm free." We don't actually carry the sin, and this is the same as saying that narcissism is the most severe. It makes us free ourselves. Or, like I was saying with the trauma, all traumas are severe. That makes me free from all the minor traumas. It's kind of, in a sense, avoiding our own self, which is the sin.
Oh, sorry, I was muted by mistake. Those examples you gave, I'm not sure they were really relevant, to be honest with you, because you were talking about us doing something that could be conceived as conniving or manipulation. So, for example, we're selling something to an old lady in a shop and she doesn't really need it, but we want our commission. Yeah. We'll try and say, oh, well, I have needs too, you know, and my needs are as valid as her needs. And you're saying that knowledge will free you from the burden of knowing you're doing something bad. Is that what you're saying? But, you know, I think that would be dependent on context. That wouldn't always be the case. Clearly, if someone came in who was a multimillionaire and they were buying something, you know, they didn't really need, perhaps it wouldn't matter. But yeah, surely it would depend on the context, right? Whether you feel
Oh,
rehabilitated through
absolutely.
knowing that. No.
Absolutely. It depends on the context. I mean, I've only given it as kind of an example of the way that we can kind of avoid our own guilt, our own shame, our own self as such.
Well, we'll go into what you said there, which I thought was interesting, because you said knowledge is that which liberates us, you know, and makes us feel perhaps less anxiety. You demonstrate that it could make us feel less guilt. I mean, in some ways, I think you're right. Then, if you want to get biblical about it, in the Bible it says, "As man groweth in sorrow, it groweth in knowledge, he groweth in sorrow." Right? And there is something to be said about that, Paul. The more we know, the more we are accountable in some ways to ourselves and others. Yeah. And perhaps the more we know of the world, yeah, the more we can see that it isn't a big bed of roses. It isn't just rainbows and ribbons, you know. It's red in tooth and claw in terms of nature. It's a big feeding frenzy, you know. It isn't all, you know, puppy dogs and kittens, you know. It's a bit of a quite the hellscape. So I don't. Yeah, I'm struggling to see how knowledge liberates one unless you go so far as to say,
Well,
for
maybe
example,
we
you
could dig
say
in
no.
more. Maybe.
If you go to the degree where, which is dangerous, if you go to say there is no free will, I can't. I know so much that I see all the inner workings of the, you know, mechanistic universe. I see all the cogs and gears causing everything to happen, and I didn't choose who I am. I didn't choose what I'm doing out of free will. Therefore, I have nothing to feel guilty about because I'm not in charge of anything. You know, I mean, you could go down that road, I suppose, with your knowledge, but I don't know if that would be a good thing for you or for others. You know, to not feel guilty, because I think feeling guilty about things we do, yeah, is obviously beneficial for you as an individual and society, because it makes you, at least one would hope, that you try and rectify your behavior because of that
Mm.
guilt.
Well, this brings us back again to the beginning of the conversation what we had when we was talking about emotions and real feelings, because emotions are more connected to the how I should behave, how I fit in, and so on. Whereas feelings kind of stop you from doing anything wrong anyway, because I don't want to face this trauma that I caused on another person, and so on. So I suppose guilt really is just an obedience. I obviously don't want to do something wrong to someone because somebody will feel bad about me, and I don't want anyone to feel bad about me. But if we were to look at it on the basis of actual feelings as such, then I did harm. I have to live that for the rest of my life because I can't get rid of it. So therefore, probably best not to do that again.
Hmm. You've
he was
spoken a
he was
lot about
also
your. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
we was talking before about knowledge escaping the sin, and I don't know whether do you want to go a little bit deeper in that? Maybe ask some more questions and see if we could both work our way deeper in it, or do you want to just move on? Or
No, yeah. I mean, feel free to ask a question first, and then you can
well,
spark some thought in me, and then I could maybe ask some questions as well.
when I was referring to knowledge escaping our sin, um, and I referred to the businessman who took advantage of a customer. Now, let's say the businessman deliberately took advantage of a customer. He can see that it was, let's say, a woman on her own and she couldn't defend herself. So I doubled the price just because of that. But then when somebody confronts me and says, "You took advantage of that customer," and I say, "Well, that's just business," then that gives me freedom from my own sin. Just sheerly saying them words makes it okay. If that makes any sense, I don't know. Maybe
I
you
don't
can
think
help
it
me out
does,
there.
though. I don't think it does, Paul.
Okay.
I think the thing about sin is right now. I'm feeling morally outraged, but you see, maybe that's the mistake I'm making because I'm not necessarily religious, but they do say only God can judge. Truly, if there is a God. And
Mm,
I suppose in some ways, I can see that being true in that we are all on our own subjective journeys through life, with our own biochemistry and the brain anatomy that makes us think this way or that, our own psychological baggage, and our own intuition. So things are not always as straightforward as they appear. I suppose what I'm getting at, though, Paul, is sin not dependent on what others think as well, not just you?
right. Well, just hold that thought a minute on sin being on others. What other people think, because I just want to touch on something else that you just said. And what you mentioned was God judging us. Mm, Obviously, many people have different versions of what God is, but I kind of have a belief that our feeling mind is a mind which is very grounded in nature, very grounded in the source, maybe we could say, which also means it's very grounded in God. So, in a sense, we could say our feeling mind may well judge us, and that's very, if not God, but very close to God. So, in a sense, you're kind of confirming the fact that sin is a kind of a judgment of God, meaning a judgment of our feeling mind against our poor decisions of ignorance or whatever. I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
Okay. I will say, first of all, the caveat is that there are people that supposedly don't have emotions, or they can't at least talk about their emotions. I heard about it lately.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now. Perhaps one of the people in the live chat might remind me. But I met
Well,
I met someone lately who didn't really think about emotions or didn't feel emotions, right? Or so he said. And there are also psychopaths in the world, Paul, as well, who apparently don't have
mm,
the same feelings as other people in relation
mm,
to matters. So I suppose from that perspective, it does look like this is all kind of, in some ways, much ado about nothing in terms of what about these people? How do they fit into all of this? I would say,
mm,
though, I would say from having spoken to that individual who had that emotional disorder where he didn't think about emotions, talk about emotions. Yeah. I would say he still had underlying feelings, but he just didn't understand them or contemplate them.
mm,
Okay. There were still these
yeah.
feelings that drove him, but he wasn't
Mm.
consciously aware of them to any degree.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I would say his brain was still feeling angry, upset, longing, all these things, but the intellectual part of his brain wasn't like doing a monologue on it. You know what I mean? It wasn't. You know. That's what I'd guess.
Well,
but
well.
anyway, this is all an aside.
So, do you want me to comment on that? Oh, go on.
You
sorry.
can if you want. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned about people who don't have feelings. I like to separate that from emotions. I do believe it's very different. People who don't have feelings, I do believe that they do. It doesn't matter whether they're psychopathic or the most extreme. I believe that they're there. They really are there. But like you said, they're not conscious of them. Now, when I view my own minds, I see that I've got two minds as such. There's one mind what thinks, and there's one mind what feels. But I can't be in both of them at the same time. I just can't. So if I'm occupied with thinking, then I can't be in the position of feeling. So I can only be in the position of the feeling mind in between thoughts. So if the thoughts stop and give a moment of peace, then I could connect to my feelings. So I believe that a lot of people who aren't connected to their feelings, it's because they're too occupied with thought. Perhaps we could say they're running away desperately, in a sense, by keeping themselves occupied with thought. But I believe that everybody has it. It's just
okay. Well,
being able
that's
to
fair
find
enough.
peace.
Paul, you may have these underlying feelings, but if those feelings are uncomfortable, I mean, it sounds like the pragmatic thing to do is to run away from them, because otherwise you're just going to sit there feeling sadness and misery if they are uncomfortable feelings. Oh, look, that's what I think. I think it makes sense to move away from them so that you can actually function. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, I mean, that seems like the sensible thing to do. Or I suppose you could sublimate them. You could transcend those feelings, change them into something else. Like if you're feeling sadness at your core, well, then you could become the sad clown who tries to bring happiness to the world. You know, you could create art. You could do something that tries to transcend that base level, which I believe a lot of people do.
Yeah, of course. The thing is with the feelings, though, if they're there, I mean, it's like having trauma. If the trauma's there and you run away from it, then you spend the rest of your life projecting that out, even though you perhaps don't realize that you're projecting it out. Like you just said, that you can create happiness in other people.
Well, I suppose
but then you go back home and
what I'm guessing at, I suppose you can go back to it, see it for what it is, but then you can make a choice whether you allow that base level feeling to influence you in a toxic manner. Okay, so you become dysregulated, dysfunctional, antisocial, hurtful to yourself and others, or you use that as a base to rebel against in a positive way for yourself and others to make the world better, to make other people happy, to lift the load of others who may be experiencing that base level of feeling too, but unable to utilize gifts, skills, traits that you have because they don't have them.
Well, I don't really know what you really mean by being able to use it. To me, it seems like it's either hidden or it's being seen and done.
Is this feeling not an influence? That's what I'm saying. When I say use it, I mean use its influence. The feeling is surely an influence on your outlook, on your life force. It surely has a role to play.
Do you know, something just came to mind then as we're talking about this. I remember towards the beginning of my journey, I started getting pretty good with psychology, and I understood it really well, but I wasn't really healed myself. And I used to speak to a lot of people, and I used to help them a lot. But if I talked to them, let's say for an hour or 2 hours or so, I would help them, and it clearly made quite an impression. But if they came back to me the next day for more, I would hurt them. It wasn't intentional, but I was still carrying the weight of what they passed on to me in the background, which was unprocessed. So I couldn't help it but to say the wrong words, say it with aggression, say it with tension, and so on, that would then just ruin the work what I did in the first place. So I don't really know if it's possible to hold that in the background and continuously uh, mm, help people in a long term, if that makes any sense.
Sometimes you can only take people as far as they can go.
I was just welcoming you to the show, Black Man. Basically, I was muted, so sorry about that. But yeah, welcome to the show, Black Man. What would
Oh,
you
yes.
like to add to the conversation, brother?
Oh, yeah. It's all good. Thank you for having me as always. As far as feelings, I just dealing with feelings and things like that. I just always wanted to work out my feelings. Like, how do I feel? How is it making me feel? Do I want to react to the feeling? Do I have any control? I wanted to get in control of my feelings. I didn't want it to be just irrational, and I just like, what I mean, just making a mess everywhere with people. I wanted to be in control, especially dealing with other people. Um, and as far as sin and things like that, I think it's a matter of people holding you to things. I mean, we're all guilty of a sin. We've all taken something, lied, or done something like that would be deemed as like against God or against God's commandments and laws, and we have sinned. But I think it's about people holding that over you. You know what I mean? And holding that over you and not letting you live, and holding you to your sin as if you're not a human and they're not a human, and we've all have sinned. So
Yeah, there's definitely something about forgiveness and people egotistically holding something against you when there's no need to. Sometimes, a lot of the time, maybe. Right. Guys, give me a moment. I'm just going to the other room to get a drink, but feel free to just talk about whatever comes up. This show is very much, as I say, it's a work in progress. We're trying to find out what is going on. Black Man, have you got any questions for Paul? Perhaps that might drive deeper into some of the stuff we've been talking about.
Maybe I could just give a bit of a response to something that. Sorry, what was his name?
Black Manosphere.
Hi, Black Man. Maybe I could just respond to something that you just said then with sin. Because you were saying that sin may be something that people hold on you. And this kind of makes a little bit of sense. I mean, maybe if we separate it and say that your sin is your sin, but somebody else puts pressure on you so that you can't look at your sin to be able to resolve it. So, in other words, somebody puts shame on you. So, let's say that I did something wrong, and I'm finding it a little bit hard to face that thing that I did wrong. Although, I know that if I do face it, I can become friends with it and it's okay. But then somebody else is saying, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Then this just makes it harder for you to face your own sin. And there's only one way of getting past sin, and that's to face it, to actually really look at it. But the pressure on the world that everybody's doing, in a sense, we're all sinners, blaming everybody else for different sins. And this putting blame on everybody else is stopping everybody else from being able to face their own sins. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people use our sins against us and like try to shame us, like you said, make us feel guilty.
Mm.
We pay for crimes and and the law and things like that. So, and then outside of that, it's just socially somebody trying to hold something over you or get you to feel a way or do something based on you feeling guilty and you want to repent for your sins to them or show them that you've changed, and you know what I mean, now you're kind of held to them. So yeah, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose what I'm kind of referring to, the pressure on the outside world is making it extremely hard for us to be able to heal, really, I
Well,
guess.
how much do you care about the outside world's opinions?
Well, that's the thing. If you can escape from that pressure, then the only thing you can look at is yourself, and you're on your way to freedom. It's the only way you're too worried about what the outside world thinks of you that you're kind of
Yeah,
trapped.
because yeah, I mean, because so many people, I mean, if they will use things against you, then you don't tell people everything about yourself, and you kind of just rock with the people who rock with you, and
Mm,
move accordingly like that through life. I mean, we, like you said, we all have done something, and so nobody's greater than the other in that
mm,
department. So, you know, I just think it's a thing of, you just gotta not let people affect you so much. Like, anything I'm doing is for like my survival, my instinct. I felt I needed to do that, or you know what I mean. And only another
mm.
man or his law can hold me against what I felt I needed to do for myself, or you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, who can really, who can really do that? You don't put yourself in positions where you make another man have to be authority over you. But that's where that's where you watch yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you cut off for a part of that. You said something along the lines, you don't put yourself in a position where another person could have authority over you, I think you said. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to put myself in position where another man has to have authority over me. At some point in time, you grow
Mm,
up, you have a father or stand authority, right? You understand you can't just do whatever you, some other man or somebody's going to hold you to that. So you don't put yourself in those
mm.
positions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good way of looking at things, but I mean, I don't know what it's like where you live, but I guess here it's so difficult to avoid someone else putting their authority on you. It seems like every avenue that you come across, somebody's trying to project onto you their own problems and blame you and so on, and it seems like quite a battle.
Okay, Paul, you are new here. We often ask
Mm,
newbies if they've had any kind of, let's just say, strange, paranormal, spiritual experiences in their life. You don't have to answer the question, but that is the question, bro.
mm. Yeah, I've had lots of them. However, I I don't really like to see them as being ghostly like or beyond like or anything like that. I suppose I try to find explanations to make them more reasonable. I don't know whether that's it's probably not what you'll agree with. Maybe I don't know.
Uh, no, I mean, I don't have an opinion on what people should do with them. Whatever works for them,
Mm.
as long as it makes your life better and makes other people's lives better, hopefully as well. Um, yeah. So yeah, would you like to explain a bit more what's happened in this regard, and yeah, what it's
Well,
made you think about
uh,
matters?
well, I don't know. I mean, it was. I mean, it was a learning journey, I guess. I mean, I had quite a few of them, mainly when I was young. I mean, there was the instances when I believed I seen ghosts when I was younger. I don't really think that it was ghosts anymore. I did go on to be a spiritualist medium, but then I started to see faults in that and walked away from it and said I don't really believe in it. I don't know. Do you want to hear maybe the ghost story or?
Yes, yes, you can tell us the ghost stories, and yeah, and then tell us why you became a spiritualist, a medium in the spiritualist church, and why you walked away from it. Yeah, please.
Well, I suppose that becoming a medium, I was just lost and guided into it and followed a path, but I started to see some fault in it. That it just seemed that I was being pushed by let's say, more higher leaders into it, and it just kind of didn't seem like it was right. It seemed like I was pretty good at giving readings, but when I really looked at myself, it just seemed that I was pretty good at reading people, and the spiritual teachers was trying to tell me that I was good at being spiritual, when really I was just pretty good at reading people. That was my experience on being a spiritualist medium. I don't know if you want me to move on to the story of a ghost story, or...
Yeah.
I had quite a few ghost stories when I was younger. There was one in particular that sticks out. I was very young, maybe, I don't know, 5 years old or something, in my family house. And I noticed in the back room that there was a young child stood there. So I walked into the back room, and on the other side of the couch, there was a half see-through young child. And I said to him, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I live here." I said, "No, you don't." He said, "Yeah, I do." And then my brother walked in, and he dragged me out when I got our parents, and there was nothing there. So I didn't really think. Well, I say I didn't really think too much on it. Actually, my parents more promoted me to believe it. But anyway, that kind of passed. Some years later, I went to a youth club, and there was a guy who ran the youth club called Robert McCallum. And one day he was arranging an event, and he asked me for my address and name and so on for insurance purposes. So I gave him my name, and he said, "Oh, I used to live across the road from you." And I had told him this ghost story like a few weeks before on one day, and he said to me, "I used to live across the road from you. And you know what? You told me about that story. My brother died right where your house was, because your house, before it was built, was the woodlands. And my brother died there before I was actually born. The uniform that you described and so on." Anyway, the story kind of matched. I don't know whether it was really true or not. It seemed like it was a pretty reasonable story, and
So
my
hold on, you're
experience is
telling
I
me
do
that
think,
this
yeah.
kid that you saw in the school uniform,
It was, yeah.
it looked like the boy who was the brother of this guy whose brother died. You're saying that?
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know whether it actually looked like him. I just seen a kid, and my description was he had short grey sort of shorts on, a shirt with kind of a jumpery tank top. And this guy said that he died just before Scouts, and apparently this was a Scouts uniform. So it kind of matched. I'm not saying I'm really convinced by it.
No, that is strange. What do you think that was?
Well, the story kind of carries on afterwards, because I went to therapy, obviously, only, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and I started to look at this story, and I started to see it in a different perspective. My childhood was quite traumatic, quite abusive, so on. And I started to learn that sometimes when things get a little bit tough, one of our defense mechanisms is to project ourselves outwards, and create another new me outside of a body, so that I can avoid feeling the trauma myself. And I started to wonder. I wonder if it was possibly that. I think it is possible.
Okay, so you're thinking you might have projected an image. It's like almost like an out of body experience. You
Yeah,
projected yourself outside of yourself.
I do think so. But also, my dad was quite a believer of ghosts, and quite projected this idea of ghosts onto us.
Did you wear that kind of uniform as well that the kid had on?
No. The child who I seen with that uniform would have been a uniform that you would describe as being maybe 20 or 30 years before my time.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you said it went on. Oh, sorry. That was where, is that as far as it has evolved, that particular experience?
I've started to learn nowadays not really to take on things like that. I don't really find them to be too helpful, but more just to allow it to be. And sometimes more truth comes out in the future when you allow it to be, and you start to see a bit more sense. So yeah, I'm not overly convinced by the ghost thing. I do think there's a spirit world. Don't disagree with that one. But as far as the ghost is what people typically describe, I'm not really convinced as such.
Okay, fair enough. What about any other spiritual experiences then?
Uh, hmm. I don't think there is any more closer to real spiritual experience than to see your true self. We can perhaps come up with stories of peculiar things that happen. But I just think, I described in one of my videos a little while ago about me having a so-called Kundalini awakening. I don't really think that was spiritual. It was strange. Definitely strange, peculiar. But I don't think it was beyond the mind in the world of mystic or in the spirit world. It was still here. It was still in this world. It was still in my mind. It was a very peculiar experience. So, as far as spiritual experiences go, I'm not really too sure if I've particularly had any because I'm not in the spirit world. I just think that most experiences we have are strange, peculiar, and maybe
Okay, would you
somewhat
like to go
closer to
into some
spirit.
of these strange, unexplained, like phenomenon that you've experienced? Perhaps maybe that's something we could explore.
Well, if I refer to, maybe do I want to go into that story? I'll try and keep it more simpler. When when the mind stops the thinking, something strange seems to happen with the body. There seems to be some sort of deeper connection to the body, some sort of deeper connection to feeling. In some way, the world itself seems to be more colourful. And in some sense, you seem to feel this a lot more. Without the mind speaking, there's no need for description. In a sense, you can kind of feel it in the body. I mean, to me, this seems peculiar. I suppose I've had some more peculiar feelings as such, but just to keep it simple, this is a peculiar feeling. We could say that this is a connection to the spirit world, but I'm not sure if it's the spirit world, but yeah, okay, we can be slightly more closer to the spirit world, I guess, in this idea. Um, I guess that's just a little example of something that's peculiar.
Okay, but no actual description of an occurrence or an experience.
Well, you see, that's the trouble. If I try to make a description of it, then it becomes not it. And even in that position at the time when I'm feeling it, I really can tell you that it was an amazing feeling. It truly was very, very different to what I normally kind of live. But I couldn't describe it. And even in them times of actually feeling it, I don't think that I could describe what I was actually feeling. I mean, it was just very different, but it was still
Okay.
only a feeling, and it's quite hard to describe.
Fair enough, Paul. So far, what I can deduce from our conversation is you've mentioned you believe in a spiritual realm, but you don't know if we can ever be aware of it here. Okay, you've mentioned you believe in God. You've mentioned you believe in sin, and you've mentioned the concept of reincarnation very, very briefly. That's all I know in terms of some of the spiritual stuff you've said to me. Obviously, you said you used to be a spiritualist medium for a while, but you felt pressurized into doing that by church leaders, and you realized it was kind of like a coercion. You didn't want to do it. But now, Paul, what is your spirituality? What is going on spiritually? How are you directing yourself spiritually? What is going on here spiritually? Do you believe? I know you've already said you don't know what's going on here, but do you live as if you somehow know what's going on? You may not. You may admit at the base level you don't know what is going on, but do you live with any spiritual framework that you kind of try to guide your being by, even though you don't know for sure that it's the truth?
Do you know, I wonder, really, should we be saying that we need to try to find a spiritual world, or should we just say, I need to find my incorrectness, my faults, my wrongs, my lies that I tell myself, and try to work on them itself and get rid of them, and perhaps just getting rid of them might make us move towards it naturally rather than actually trying to find something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying you don't know if you could know the truth, but you can try and lessen the errors that are occurring in your behavior, in your thoughts.
I don't think it's possible to know the truth. I don't think it's possible to find the truth.
Hello.
It seems. Oh, sorry.
I don't know what happened there.
Should I carry on? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to actually find the truth as such by looking for the truth. I mean, if I say, well, I think I know the truth, it's this, then that kind of adjusts my perception. It's already created an image and then moving towards it. So I question if it's actually possible to find the truth itself, or whether the only way of finding the truth is to find the fault.
Right. So trying to lessen the errors in your thinking and behavior. Fair enough. I do agree with that, actually. Now, Paul, you mentioned reincarnation earlier. Is that something you believe in?
Well, you said before that I mentioned reincarnation, but I don't think I said it.
I think you did, brother. I don't know.
I might have done. I don't know. If I did, you might have to remind me of it.
I can't remember what exactly why you referenced it, but it was I'm nearly sure, but very early in the conversation. Something about coming back here or something. Did you not say that?
Oh, right. I understand. Yes, I did. Yeah, I can't remember the example that I kind of gave it. Yeah, I do think in some way that we come back. I mean, it probably goes to a little bit more too complicated than I'm probably prepared to describe here. In some way, I think that we're creating a world at the moment in our own minds because we can only see our own minds. In one sense, we've got the side which is ignorant, and in the other sense, we've got the side which is more connected to the ground, the source, as such. And in ignorance, we're altering the minds of the source. And if we're altering that source, then in some way we've got to relive that source in a new life. So it might just be that when we're reincarnated, we've got to relive the life that we tried avoiding. And at some point we've got to face that and readjust it. I'm not sure I want to go too much more deeply into it.
Is it a case about? It sounds like. I mean, avoiding. I mean, some people in Buddhist circles talk about detaching yourself from your ego and from your drives, but you're saying that we like detach. Is detachment a form of avoidance? Or is detachment probably recognizing the feelings, and
no,
it's not necessarily avoidance because you're contemplating them, but you're intellectually orienting yourself away from the negative aspects of them. Is that right?
Well, what I refer to in avoidance is by joining the ego and avoidance to our feelings, because like I always talk about, there being two different minds. One mind thinks, but it can't feel. The other mind feels, but it can't think. And these two minds aren't really connected together, apart from communication between them. I think that the mind, what feels, is the one which is most connected to the source, the spirit, whatever you want to call it. And if we don't try to fix that, and that mind is connected to the source as such, then we're going to have to come back to try to reattempt this and try to fix this mind again.
Fair enough. Paul, one moment, please. There's someone here. Wild Heart, you're on the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for letting me on. It's good to see you.
What would you like to say, Wild Heart?
I don't know because I've not been watching. So you're going to have to catch me up on what you've been talking about. I don't know.
Wild Heart, we've been talking about what is going on in general in this strange existence. Do you have any idea?
What is going on in general?
What is going on? What is this existence built upon? What does it mean? Anything like that.
So you're asking what is in general existence based upon?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a difficult task to answer. Do you know what I mean? Because
it is. I'll give you that. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't have to rush it. There's no rush. You can take your time with it. Would you like to ask him a question, Paul? This newbie.
I'm not saying that. Question. I'm not saying that I have a better question. I'm just saying, if you ask the question, what is existence based upon? That's very. It's a very substantial question. Do you know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of answers to that.
Yeah. Well, you can try giving just one. There's no pressure, brother.
Right. What is existence based upon? For one, it's based upon certainty. Like,
Say that again?
Can you be certainty? Can you be certain about anything? Do you think?
That's an interesting way of looking at it, Paul. He said existence is based on certainty.
Yeah.
Like death and taxes?
Yeah, so do you think that...
I hope life's not just based on that.
Yeah, so do you think that existence is based on certainty? Can you be certain about anything?
I would say that you can't be certain on anything at all. The whole idea, I guess, is in peace to sit in the moment, and in the moment we can't really project into the future. We don't know. So yeah, I think that we can't really be certain about anything at all. And why do we need to be? I guess we probably don't.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think we can be certain about anything. No. No,
Is it perhaps existence is based on the illusion of certainty?
Well, that's psychological security, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, the illusion of certainty is not the same as certainty. Like, can you be certain about anything in existence?
I can be certain that I'm acknowledging that I exist and that I've been given life and that other life is has been given as well, and that I'm moving in conjunction with it.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that, because I don't think you can be certain that you exist.
Well, when I pinch myself, I go, ow.
Yeah, but you can't be 100% that you're certain about you existing because you might be a burning vat. So
I can't be certain that I got up this morning and brushed my teeth, washed my face, brushed my hair. I can't be
yeah,
certain that I looked myself in the mirror and did it.
yeah, you can't be certain like that. Because if you are a brain in a vat, then you wouldn't have got up and washed your teeth, and you wouldn't have done anything. So you can't be
Oh,
certain.
I thought I was certain that I did wake up and that I,
No, you
did
can't.
hit the bathroom. I
No,
did, but
no.
that's a real mind. That's a real mind fuck.
Yeah, but I'm saying you. So how are you How are you certain?
I acknowledge myself
Maybe,
doing it.
maybe,
I
maybe I could
witnessed
butt in
myself
here and
doing it.
say, sorry, go on.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Maybe I could say that, I do exist, but I don't really know what I am, really. Maybe we can come to some agreement on that.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that. You don't know why you exist, but the
Yeah, I
same.
mean, I could.
I can give an explanation.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Well,
but
I, I,
someone who
be-
says that,
I believe the story goes that my father and my mother met and they fell in love and got married and then I
yeah,
appeared.
yeah, I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, when someone says that they agree, that they know that they exist, it's a question about knowledge. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know that you exist?
Well, there's knowledge and men the seeing, isn't there? I mean, I could come up with a description of me. I like this, I like that. I'm proud of myself, I hate myself, or so on. I could come up with that, but then, there's also the sense that, I could kind of feel that there is something, here in this certain area of the world. I could also see my hands. I could feel my toes. And these sort of
Right?
the feelings and seeings are quite different to a description.
So yeah,
Right. So
you're
you feel,
basically saying
so
he
you
used your five
feel,
senses.
so you
Sorry,
feel that
basically
you're.
saying,
Does that mean that you know your toes exist? You feel that they exist. Do you know that your
sorry,
toes exist?
did you say my toes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, my brain is creating my existence in a form that I understand. So I suppose I could say I don't really know what my toes are because the only thing I could see is what my brain is creating. But I'm pretty sure I could say there's some of that.
Yeah.
If I
So
was
you
to
know.
say that my toes don't exist, I would have to say that my brain also doesn't exist, and then that would be to say that there's no creation, no awareness. And if there was no awareness, how am I aware that there's no awareness?
Yeah.
It goes on.
So you're saying that you don't know that your toes exist. You think that they exist, but you don't
Oh yeah,
know.
yeah. See, yeah. I mean, I see. I mean,
You
I
do.
could create descriptions and so on, but that's all limited and superficial and fragmented. But if I could see my toes, that seems a little bit more realistic than any sort of description. We could say that, I
Yeah.
know in the form of knowledge, but we could also say I know in the form of feeling and seeing. The two different things.
Yeah. So you think your toes exist. You don't know that your toes exist.
No, I know that my toes exist, but I don't think that my
You
toes
know.
exist.
How do you know?
How do I know? Because there's every part of me, my existence, that says, you know what, they're there. I can see them, I can touch them, I can feel them, I can feel bodily sensations inside of my body. There's everything kind of there. But if I was to just think that they exist, then all I've got is a thought. It's very different to feeling and seeing.
Right. So you don't know that your toes exist. You think that your toes exist.
No, I'm saying I know that my toes exist. I'm saying I don't think that they exist. It's more reliable knowing.
Your souls exist.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we do. Whether they're toes or not, I don't know, but there's definitely some of that.
So do you know your souls exist?
Are we going to go around and round on this one?
No, I'm just asking you a question. Do you know your souls exist?
Do you know your toes exist?
Yeah. Do you know your toes
Okay.
exist?
So how do you know that your toes exist? I'm not questioning it because they probably do, but what in your awareness gives you enough evidence to say that your toes exist?
So you don't know that your souls exist? It's a yes or no question. Do you know that your toes exist? Or do
A
you
yes
think
or no question. Well, we can't answer a yes or no. Let's start off with yes and see where we go.
what, sorry? What?
Well, let's start off with yes. I know that my toes exist. Let's go on from there and see where we get to.
Right, so you know your souls exist. How do you know
Yes.
that? Yeah, so
Because
you know that your souls exist.
yes.
Yeah, so is it possible that your souls don't exist?
Is it possible that my toes don't exist?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
No, it is possible.
It is possible that my toes don't exist. Would you like to share your ideas on that one?
Yeah, if solipsism is true, if solipsism is true, then your souls wouldn't exist. So it's
I mean, it is
possible
possible.
your souls don't
It,
exist. So
it is possible that they don't exist. I will agree with that. The only trouble is, if I say that it's possible that my toes don't exist, I would also have to say it's possible that my brain doesn't exist. It's also possible that my mind doesn't exist. But then I'll lead on to something else by saying it's also possible then, if my brain doesn't exist, that awareness must not exist. But if I say that awareness doesn't exist, then how am I aware that awareness doesn't exist?
No, that doesn't follow. But it doesn't matter. Sorry, I don't want to be a pain or like yeah. I'll just show.
It's alright. Well, I wonder if maybe I can leave the chat also. It's getting late for me. I don't know.
Okay, Paul.
Yeah, I don't know your name.
Paul,
Would you mind sharing?
Sorry, what was that?
I don't know your name. Would you mind sharing your name?
Yeah, well, D&W is how I go on here.
D&W. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. But Paul, it's been a pleasure to have you here. I do hope you'll come back again soon. We're here quite a lot, most evenings. So
okay.
yeah, come back.
Oh,
and,
thank you, and I appreciate you being here. Yeah, I often
thank you very much.
And talk to people.
Yeah, well, I shall come back again another time. So, well, thank you very much for appreciating me. And maybe we'll speak again.
Okay, Paul. Have a good rest. Take care.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much, D&W. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Black Man is Fair, you are there. What are your thoughts on what is occurring?
Well, just as far as awareness, I mean, I look at awareness as, like I referred to earlier, as using our five senses. And if we can acknowledge that we have our senses about us, then we can acknowledge that we are in reality or in life, and that we're aware of that. We acknowledge that. You feel, you smell, you touch, you hear, you see.
Okay. Now, if anybody else is in the live chat, please come on. Link is in the live chat. We've been going for about 2 hours now, so yeah, we're doing okay. Wild Heart, have you ever had any strange paranormal experiences in your life? Have you seen a ghost or anything else
No,
supernatural or anything like that? No.
no. I wish I
Okay.
had, but yeah, I've never had anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe
Fair
in the
enough.
paranormal or the supernatural or anything like that. I don't believe
Fair enough.
in supernatural. I don't
Do
believe
you
in
have any predictions, Wild Heart, for the future of the human race, given news at the moment
it.
around the world? What do you think is going to happen with AI, geopolitics? Is it something you're interested in?
Yeah, yeah, I am interested in it. I think it will happen, and different things will happen in the universe and in AI, but I can't predict them. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be unpredictable. Yeah, because that is the nature of like things that people don't know about. Yeah, it's not. It's not going
Absolutely.
to be predictable. Yeah.
Okay. Black Man is fair. You are in America, brother. What's going on? I mean, have you been looking at the news with Trump and Venezuela and Greenland and
Oh
different?
yeah, yeah.
What
Trump
what's
on
Yeah,
going
I
on, Black Man is fair? What's going on?
I just been
it.
hearing about that, the oil and the resources that Trump wants there, and taking the president, and I've just been hearing the same thing, and it was about the oil and securing it.
Yeah, basically, any president of America wants to take over the world and own all the oil.
I talked
Because
about that earlier. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah,
yeah,
when it comes, yeah, it's like world domination, global domination, and
yeah,
one country at a time, one step at a time, and the business
yeah.
that we're in, with the other
That's,
countries for everybody to be calm or we're coming, you know. So America's
yeah,
like
but
a big bully
that is a
and a
bad
gang.
thing. But that is a bad thing. If
But
America
the thing
take
is,
over
America, nobody threatens to
the
drop a
way
bomb or.
they want to, and then just take over them and take over all the oil, do you agree that that's a bad thing?
um Not in terms of global dominance and monopoly, not in those
No,
terms.
that is what it means. It means monopoly. Yeah, if you take over every country in the world and take their oil because it makes you rich, then that is a monopoly. Yeah, so
Yeah, we were born into monopolies. You know.
you were born in. Yeah, that doesn't matter.
There is a newcomer. 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 There is a new.
Right, we have Brojo in the house. Brojo, you're on the show. Welcome to Finding Gnosis.
How you doing?
Not too bad, brother. What would you like to add to the conversation?
Well, I know Wild Heart, and been subscribed to your channel for a while, listening in. And you were just asking me about Venezuela.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings. I got to tell you the truth. I have mixed feelings about Venezuela. Um, because I do see, if I zoom out, I see the need to secure the Western Hemisphere. I think the world's going through a deglobalization. It's pretty much going to be East versus West. And Trump's making deals to secure the Western Hemisphere and maybe get away from having Europe and Israel as kind of like a thorn in their side.
Do you think he
With the
will really
Ukraine war
move
and all.
away from Europe and Israel? I mean, the UK helped him gain access, or his SEALs gain access to that oil tanker in the North Atlantic recently. So, do you really think he'll move away from, you know, having a say or influencing Europe and
Well, we
maybe
got ties
being
with the
influenced by Israel?
I guess we'll keep our ties with the UK, but even the UK has distanced themselves from the rest of Europe, right?
Right. So, Bojo, do you agree or disagree with Trump taking over basically the world?
He's not taking over the world.
I mean, the countries you were talking about. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I think he's trying to secure the Western Hemisphere for security, energy for the United States. They're looking to purchase Greenland. I
Yeah.
suspect they're going to look at Cuba next because Cuba is relying on Venezuelan oil, so that market's going to be
Yeah.
destroyed more.
So basically, he just wants
Tomorrow,
to make it.
I don't know if anybody's aware of, but tomorrow, the first ever BRICS naval exercise will be happening in South Africa. Let's just hope we don't have an
Right.
incident.
So basically, he just wants to make as much money as he can by taking over countries that have oil in them. That's not a good thing, is it?
The security and making sure we have
Not
energy.
security. Not security, no.
That's what's important.
No, because him taking over countries that have oil doesn't mean that they're secure because he doesn't own the countries, does he?
Hey guys, I have past experience, much past experience with Wildheart, and I know he's going to get belligerent at times. He's very anti-American, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Just answer the question.
I already answered, asked and answered.
Does that include security?
Brojo doesn't want to answer the question. So, what was the
I'm
question,
going
Wildheart?
The question is: does Trump taking over countries with oil mean that he is making security better in America? I'll give you the answer. It's no.
He doesn't think it. All right. Well, okay. Look, Brojo, what do you think of that? He's saying it's perhaps making America more insecure. I mean, I don't see that myself, but what do you think?
No, because you control the energy, you control the oil. I mean,
Yeah.
you need that. Any country
I'm
needs
just saying.
energy is foundational.
I'm just saying if you
Like the
don't own
oil in your, it's like the oil in your car.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just saying if you don't own the country in the first place, then it doesn't mean that you are more secure as a country because you own the country you are invading. That doesn't make you more secure.
We already have American infrastructure in there. Now, I would like to see the Venezuelan people vote for and allow, to have a say in all of this. That would be good. From what I'm seeing, I'm not there. I'm not in Venezuela. It looks like there's a split amongst the population. I'm seeing people like, yeah, they got rid of Maduro, make Venezuela great again. I'm seeing those. Then you see another group. They're protesting, saying we're not leaving till Maduro's back. So I don't know.
Okay. So, look, Brojo, you're in America, right? So,
Yes.
what's your opinion? Has Trump done a good job thus far? He's been over a year in now. So, what's going on there? Are you
Well,
happy with
well,
what
I
he's
got to
done?
tell you, I have very mixed feelings with Trump. I voted really 3 times for Trump, but was very disappointed that in a lot of things he took a 180. So yeah, I am disappointed. The whole Epstein thing, files, especially that. His administration did a 180. So yeah, if I had to give a scorecard, I'm gonna say like C plus. But you got to say, I mean, he's making some bold moves. Some we might not agree with, but I think over the long term they're going to be beneficial. Even though I know, and every politician's going to do it, that there are going to be benefits for them and kickbacks, no doubt.
Now you mentioned the Epstein files. What do you think's going on there, Brojo?
I think any of those redacted files, I think they're just so scrubbed, we're never going to really know the truth.
No, can I give my answer? I think the president of America went to the island where he was doing paedophile things. I don't know exactly, but I think he went to there and had paedophile sex with several, probably small girls. That is my opinion.
I
Yeah.
consider
You have no evidence for that though, Wildheart.
exactly.
No,
I
I'm just
consider
saying that. No, I
You're saying
said that. I said that's what I think.
I know, but I mean,
Yeah,
whether we like it or not, there is no evidence for that.
right.
You know?
yeah, but
I'm
that's
not
what I
saying
think.
Trump isn't an asshole, but
Yeah, no,
we don't.
he is a topical.
All you have is circumstantial guilty by association, and
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not convicting or anything.
I
I'm just
appreciate your
saying.
objective point of view, NW.
Yeah,
well, look, I don't like Trump. I think he's an asshole, but
yeah.
we
But in
don't
the
know
same
for sure.
token,
But having
right?
said that, there are some other claims about him that he settled out of court with a woman who accused him of rape. But again, that's not even evidence. That's not even proof that he raped her. You know,
Right.
that's just
It's not true.
he might just want to get it out of the way because it's causing him hassle.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but
Companies and actors do that all the time.
You don't need proof. You just need
It's circumstantial.
evidence. Yeah, it's just what you think.
What do you
I
think
got to
was
tell you
the
something quite disturbing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody told me something quite disturbing, and it changed my whole recently, and probably changes my whole relationship with this person. So they were upset. I'm trying to make this short backstory. He buys a car from an auto dealer, needed to be repaired, never gets the car, it's not getting repaired, it's constantly delayed, he's out thousands of dollars, he's not going to get his money back, you know, this kind of thing. And he is so upset to the point that he is willing to have false accusations of pedophilia against him. And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Because see, in my
Say
mind,
that again.
pedophilia or
Say that again.
sexual. I'm sorry.
This
No,
is
I was very upset. I was pissed off that because he was upset, which because money is being stolen from him, he's willing to go do a false accusation against somebody. All right.
to
And
extort money from them. To extort
Right.
money from them. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry,
So-
I apologize. I've just said the word that I think YouTube doesn't like. I apologize for that. I've just.
Well, don't fucking do it again then.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was,
Yeah,
but don't say it again. Anyway,
yeah.
Brojo,
yes.
yeah, that does go on, unfortunately. It's sad because it takes up time from the judicial process and the investigatory process for real victims, you know.
Yeah, and
so
I mean,
it is bad.
yeah, I mean, pedophilia or sexual assault is a very serious accusation, and I don't think it should be thrown around lightly because you can ruin people's lives. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anybody in the live chat want to come on? The link is in the live chat. You can come on here and say hello. Brojo, economically, what position do you think America is in at the moment? Like, how are you doing there? That's what I was. What's it like on the ground? Because we're hearing that it's doing well, but we're also hearing that you're on the brink of civil war, internally, and obviously this stuff up in was it Minneapolis? That's caused a lot of hassle over there. So yeah, what's going on internally?
Well, I got a lot thrown out at me. Civil War. If you're saying brink of civil war, thinking like civil war from the 1800s, no, that's not going to happen. I mean, you might have some riots in the city, like in Minnesota or in New York.
No, we have people come on here and they swear America's on the brink of civil war. Like that has been stated a few times. So it's
like
interesting.
An all around like a North versus South civil war.
I presume it's like
Yeah,
Trumpers versus anti-Trumpers.
I don't see that happening. And if that was to happen, you know who has probably more guns? The Trumpers. But I don't think that's
Going to
going to
war.
happen. I don't think that's
You
going to
ready?
happen.
Yeah, so Trump does seem to be a problem, doesn't he?
So,
Like,
You
like
are sloshed, aren't you,
all these,
Wildheart? Wildheart, you're
yeah,
sloshed. You're pissed as a fart.
oh yeah, he's
yeah,
always is,
It's not good,
yeah.
bro. It's not good to come on a live stream when you're fucking off your nut. You know what I mean?
always.
It's not
Okay,
good, bro.
so
That's why he's not allowed on my hangouts no more.
But Wildheart, you
I
should
don't
come on here when
know,
you're sober at your best. You know,
and I
you're trying
don't
to
know
have.
why, because I'm smarter than I've never met you
Yeah,
before, but I'm
you
smarter
are.
than
I can
Roger.
tell you. I can tell you're a smart guy, but you're not doing yourself any justice in your public performance. You know, you're
Yeah, but I
coming
am
across.
smarter than,
I
but I
know you're
am
smart.
smarter than,
I know
even
you're
when
smart.
I'm drunk, I'm smarter than Bojo. And I haven't
Oh,
met
come
the
on.
other
There was no
two.
need for that. Well, I'm going to give you a yellow card for that. Actually, you're on a yellow card, Wildheart. We do that system here. So
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
are rude again, you'll be sent off for the night. Okay,
yeah. Okay.
Brojo.
Yellow card, is that like a yellow flag? It's like a flag on the
You get
play.
if you get 2 yellow cards, you get a red card. Basically means you get
Yeah.
sent off.
Ooh, two
Oh,
You get
strikes and you're out.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, there
Even
was no
matter.
need for that, was there?
You didn't
No, I hear
know.
you.
What you just did.
So you have another question for me?
No,
No,
you
yeah.
just
So
saying you didn't look
You
about
were still
the
asking.
red.
oh, wow. Sorry, Wildheart. You're gone for the night. That's another yellow card. Sorry. There you go. You can come back at night. Thank you, Wildheart. So basically, Brojo, I was going to ask you why. So you said there's no fear of a civil war over there. Well, I suppose that's good to hear. Are you worried about a totalitarian regime, perhaps taking power and never leaving office? You know, some people are saying that we're on the brink of Trump utilizing AI. You know, maybe doing some kind of uh, interesting stuff with the law over there and changing matters so that he or the Republicans can stay in power, well, forever. So some are very worried about.
Oh, I mean, have people forgot our system? Why our system is in play to avoid such things? That's why we have checks and balances in
They're
our
saying
system.
perhaps he won't. He's not potentially somebody who cares about law or precedent. He's somebody who does what he wants.
Yeah.
And they are
Well,
people are some people are worried about that. But you think that's uncalled for. You think the American people
no,
won't
you
let
should
that
definitely.
happen. There.
Well, you should always be concerned. Definitely if you're getting a little bit, you don't want a freaking authoritarian, regime or anything like that. But like some people making a stink. He's going making a stink, but I mean, rightfully so. Congress is supposed to approve any kind of war or kind of an aggression, and it hasn't. Congress hasn't, I don't think, approved any war in decades. So Trump, in a lot of ways, is not doing anything different than any other president has in the past. Also, you have Democrats now crying about him going into Venezuela the way he did, but meanwhile, just 2 years ago, you can go pull up the video clips. These same Democrats wanted Maduro out, say that he needs to get out. They're out there. You can see the clips from Kamala Harris, Biden, Schumer. Yeah. So yeah, it's just politics, and they're playing a game. Both sides do it. It's harder to get away with it nowadays than in the time past because the internet never forgets.
What's your gut instinct? Do you think he's going to go for Greenland? He says he has to get it within the next 3 years.
I hope he. I think. Well, they might be in a. I heard they were in a deal, maybe purchasing it.
Well, Denmark apparently doesn't want to sell it. So, what do you think is going to happen then? I think they'll come to some kind of agreement, more kind of military protection or something for Denmark or for Europe. If the US wants to use the minerals there.
Yeah, it's very strategic too. China wants Greenland too, wants to be influencing Greenland. So I don't know, but it's probably the way he's going to go. Hey, I'll make you a deal. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. And if you
Well, we
do
have Black Man.
refuse it,
Black Man is fair. What do you think of what Brojo has been saying about America and how it is currently operating? Do you think he's made a fair assessment?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I definitely don't see like any civil war, anything breaking out on U.S. grounds like that. So, um, I don't see that. But I mean, I can see where people are divided with the vote, and people who are Trump supporters and people who aren't, like a rich versus poor type of thing. But I don't see any wars breaking out within the grounds. So.
I wish Cougar Duma was here because he swears that it's on the cards.
we
Yeah, I
can't.
mean, there's civil unrest and things like that. There's things like that, but I just can't see, war like that, like within the grounds. Like I could see a lot of people getting locked up and a lot of things getting worked out. Like, but I just can't
Are you
see it. It'll
worried?
be.
Are you worried that there'll be a lack of respect for due process in America? I mean, he hasn't exactly given respect for due process to some of these, illegal immigrants, supposedly illegal immigrants that he's kicked out of the country. Also, that what happened up in Minneapolis yesterday. Some people are saying that he came out too quickly on the side of the ICE agent. Okay, that
Mhm.
he was too quick to take his side, and when you analyze the video footage, it does look like the shooting was unnecessary. She didn't need to be
Oh
killed.
boy! Oh
What do
God!
you think?
We just went over. One of somebody in my community. I do regular hangs myself. I had a 420 cafe going, and now I just do regular hangouts. But and we have we have a community of people, different backgrounds and stuff. So but this one guy, Hillary's, he has a channel called Fact of the Matter. Was analyzing that video. I wasn't able to get into the call because I had some hotspot issues. But looking at the video, and if according to law, she was approached by law enforcement to stop. She had to stop the vehicle and get out of the vehicle, and then she proceeds to move the car and to flee the scene. And there's a cop in front of her. The cop is identifiable. He's law enforcement, so he is justified in stopping that vehicle and shooting. Because I'll tell you this: if he didn't, for some reason, and she was a threat, I don't even know her background or anything, but if she did turn out to be a threat and started running over people in the street, they'll be asking, why didn't you stop him?
Absolutely, it's a ton of videos like that.
Yeah.
Law enforcement, when you're attained or detained, or like they ask you to stop, but you can't move or can't do anything, and you're putting people in danger as well as them. They got to shoot.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody in front of her when he shot, though. The guy who shot her had actually moved to the side. There was nobody in front of her. Do you think that changes matters?
No, he was in front of the vehicle. I saw the video.
I saw that he literally was in front of her when she started moving, but then I
Yeah,
believe he moved to the side. It was in one move. As he took the gun out, he moved to the side, so his body was to the side of the car when he took the shot. I believe that's right.
There's a
Now,
bullet hole in the windshield.
sorry, say that again.
There was a bullet hole in the windshield.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he was in front of the car. His left hand was extended, or his over the bonnet of the car, and he shot in through the windscreen. But look, I don't believe he was physically in danger. But are you saying the the saving
Oh no,
grace.
he was physically in danger. He was in front of the
I don't
vehicle.
believe he was. I don't believe he was in danger when he took the shot. Is what I'm saying. I'm open to being proven wrong.
Well,
But
it doesn't matter.
if you want to pull up the video, we can watch it.
Yeah, go ahead. But she's fleeing the scene. She's supposed to detain and supposed to be stopping.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other side to it. If I don't think he was in danger, but I think you're saying the fact that she was fleeing the scene is enough for her to be shot.
Yeah, because he's
Retro
preventing her
agrees
from
with me. Retro says he was not in danger when he fired. A moment before, maybe, but not when he actually took the shot.
She was fleeing the scene.
And Farhat says he wasn't in danger. They saw all the angles. And Symptom of Reality says he wasn't in danger. But you're saying that's neither here nor there. The problem is he was fleeing the scene, and that could have endangered other people.
Exactly.
Does anybody else want to come on here, guys? Links in the live chat. Symptoms of Reality has said something really interesting there. Kind of, probably related to this, but kind of a bit out there. Gaslighting shows that this is a hell realm, says Symptoms of Reality. Do come on and tell us what you mean by that, please. That is a really interesting comment. I'm sure that will open up some good conversation. Sorry, go ahead there, Brojo.
I'm going to try to get in. He goes by Hillary's emails. I'm going to try see if he's around and if he can want to come in here because he's actually a former law enforcement and has a pretty good grip upon on the law.
Right. That'd be good. Yeah, if he's around. Yeah.
I'll try to get him
here we go. Doubting Thomas says legal force. I don't know anything about the American.
Oh, there's Doubting Thomas. I'll try to get him in the hang.
Doubting Thomas says lethal force is not warranted necessarily just because a petrol is fleeing the scene. Okay. Well, guys, come over to Finding Gnosis just because a perpetuator is fleeing the scene. Come over to Finding Gnosis. That's the channel on YouTube. You can come on. The link is in the live chat, so you can come on here. Just look up Finding Gnosis on YouTube. Farhat says, so what if she's fleeing the scene? That isn't assault.
From the video from
I don't know. I see ton of cop footage videos and stuff like that. Soon as they have you and they tell you get your hands up or you don't obey commands and you try to put that car in the gear and take off, like they shooting.
Right. Because you are detained. So you had the officer say, get out of the vehicle. She refused. The car was in reverse. You could see the lights, and then she put it in gear. She wouldn't. She wouldn't. So she didn't stop. So now you're moving the car forward. At which time I saw the other cop get because you're supposed the procedure is to surround the vehicle. So they're going. He's going to get in front of the vehicle, and then now you're going to run after. He's going to shoot.
I mean. As far as I'm concerned, it's about proportionality. Okay, was it necessary? Was it? She didn't seem that she was speeding off. She was moving casually. It didn't look like anyone was in danger because he had gone to the side. But you're saying that doesn't matter.
She sped away. I mean, she got shot. She got shot, but she was looking to speed away. So let me ask you this: say if they would have let her go speeding away because she was afraid, right? She's reacting out of fear. That doesn't give me an excuse to break the law, right? But what if she got away and then in her fear and adrenaline, she winds up killing a couple people?
I don't know if there's anybody around the vicinity. This is the problem. I don't know the facts.
I'm just saying, what would people be saying?
I don't know if there was a crowd of people to her right. I know from the video I saw, there was nobody ahead of the car. That's what I saw. But you're saying she could have been anxious. Well, yeah, she could. She may have been. I want to bring in Yerf Dogs here, Brojo, if you don't mind. Yerf Dogs, what do you think of the matter at hand?
I just want to make one more point. That's all.
Okay.
Oh, let him make his point, and then I'll jump in. It's all right.
All right. Okay, and then we'll go to Doubting Thomas.
Yeah. No. All I was going to say is, if that would happen, if she was managed to get away when there was an opportunity to stop her, right? If you know, if the situation's there, and then she goes and drives and kills someone, then everybody be up in arms about why didn't they stop her? You know, there's a lot going on that ICE, their lives have been in danger and stuff a lot lately. So they're like, very high alert.
See, I think you should only act with what is actually happening in the moment. And there didn't seem to be a crowd of people in danger. But you're saying you're talking about down the road, she could have caused something. All right, that's your view, Brojo. What Yerf Dogs? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a pretty it's a really, really sad event, isn't it? What happened in Minnesota? Excuse me. I think from what I saw of the video, my take on it, basically, my starting point is the authorities are there telling you to not move, giving you specific directions. Look, for better or for worse, your best choice is just to follow instructions. And if there is, when tensions are really high, if there are cops around you and you just put your foot down on the gas, I mean, fuck, it's, look, I'm not saying, I'm not saying yay or anything stupid like that, but man, that's the price you're going to pay for doing that. It's horrible, but
it is horrible. It is horrible.
It's awful, but that's unfortunately the reality.
It is tragic.
I mean, I take your point. Like, everyone's seen the video from different angles, yada yada. And I take your point. I think you said you're not sure that the cop was in immediate danger. Is that correct? DNW.
Yeah, but I don't think it was necessarily about him. I think
okay.
I think it is about the wider issue. Was she endangering anyone else? Because I don't think she was endangering him at the shot. But I think what they're going to say is, because he was at the side of the car when he took the shot, he had managed to get out of the way. But I think that they may well say what Brojo said, and that is that, yeah, she could have been a danger to others in the vicinity. She just didn't stop. They didn't know. I mean, this is a defense. They will say this. They asked her to stop. She didn't stop. Therefore, they didn't know what she was going to do.
Yeah,
she drove away. I mean,
to be honest, that's from what I've seen. I think I would probably side on that side of the equation.
Oh, Phipps says, so this guy is speculating not having seen the video. Do you want to come on and we'll watch the video or show us a link to the video?
I've seen the video. I've seen the video from the different angles and stuff. I know, I know what I'm talking about to the extent that I've seen the videos. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. Farhat makes a point. Then shoot the tires. Yeah, I mean,
that's good in the movies, isn't it? That's not how it works in real life.
Okay, we have Doubting Thomas.
Okay, yep, no worries.
Doubting Thomas, are you the guy who used to be a law enforcement officer, right?
No, that's Hillary Zeman. That's a different dude.
Okay, so what's your take on it all, Doubting Thomas?
Well, I haven't seen the video, and I think it was. There's a lot going on.
Herb.
It's definitely a tragedy. As far as shooting the tires goes, that's a bit dicey in a crowd, I would think, because you're not, you could have a ricochet, possibly. But I can see both sides of the story. You could make an argument for like an equal measure of force. And it seems a bit heavy-handed to shoot somebody in the head. But also, she clearly was ordered to stop. But there's all kinds of, there's a lot of legal issues involved. Like here, and I'm not sure, there's certain jurisdictions where if the police are chasing somebody, they won't chase them above 100 miles an hour or more, because it's safer just to let them go at times. And you can't, you can't necessarily use lethal force on a perpetrator that's fleeing a scene. So those are my thoughts.
But I think from what I saw, I think a case can be made that it was reasonable for the officer to take the point, to have the point of view that he was in danger from her trying to get away. And cops are trained to use lethal force in those situations. That's their training.
Sorry, guys. I've actually just found out a friend has died, so I'm going to be gone
dude.
for a little while. I'm going to make a
Oh,
phone
do you
call.
want to
Sorry,
just cancel the stream, dude? Just let it
no,
go.
no, it's cool. It's cool. You guys can chat. It's not. Well, listen, I'll be back in a while. I have to make a phone call. That's what it's got.
Well, just stop it if you need to, mate. No worries.
No, it's cool. Sorry.
Right. So yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I think. Cops are trained to use lethal force in these situations. You know, it's only in the movies that you get, you know, shoot the tires or shoot the. I saw someone say shoot the hands off the steering wheel. It's just not. That's not how it works.
Yeah, I've had a really good look at the videos, mainly
Okay.
the front angle, because I think it's probably the most telling. He is in front of the car when she starts to move forward, and he's so close to the front of the car that you can't tell whether he's managed to move around the vehicle or if the vehicle's literally pushed him around the vehicle. And the bullet holes are in the windshield, not the side window. So I just put myself in the place of the officer. If I was in front of a car that I'm supposed to stop that is started to move towards me, would I shoot the person? And the answer is yes. I would shoot the person. If that was the means I had to stop them from going forward, that's what I'd do.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. From again, I don't. I'm not a legal expert in America, but from what I've seen, I think it's going to be seen as a good shoot. I don't think he's going to be held culpable. Although the city might get sued, that could come up in a civil suit. But I don't think he's going to be held criminally liable.
The problem
Once she was she was detained, told to get out of the car. She was detained. Once she put that car in motion, she used that car becomes a weapon. And the officer has every right to defend himself and to stop her from causing further damage, like I was expressing down the road. Because if they would have just let her go and she went and killed a couple people out of her fear and adrenaline, people would be yelling, "Why didn't the cops stop her?" I'm just saying. It's tragic. I'm not saying yay cops should. It's messed up. It really is. But this just goes that you should just, you're detained. It's just best to sit still and take, unless you were doing something wrong, and usually people who are doing something wrong are fleeing the scene.
I agree with you. I don't think anyone here is saying yay. I absolutely not. I at least in this discussion here, and I haven't really seen it online. I haven't seen people going yay. I think from what I've seen, most people are, fuck, that was terrible. I mean, I think we all agree it was terrible, horrible. How about Black Manosphere? What's your take on this, mate?
It's. I've just seen it 100 times when it's black people, whether it be drugs, some type of whatever. I pull over the car. The police gets to the vehicle. You're putting the car in drive, trying to take off, and they shoot. I've seen it 100 times, so it's just like it's almost like protocol now. But what was she pulled over for in the first place? And is this an ISIS hit? Is this was she pulled over for something ISIS related?
Oh no, ICE had made arrests, and there was like a column of them trying to leave, and she pulled out in front of them.
So that's obstruction, I'm guessing. Is that the angle?
I think that's the reason why they stopped and told her to get out of the vehicle.
Right. Okay.
Now I don't know if she did it on purpose, right? She might not have done it on purpose. She might have just been oblivious. But
yeah, I mean that's
from what I
possible.
seen, it looked like she was trying to take off and out. She was taking off.
Yeah.
She's leaving the scene. Like, no, I'm out of here.
Yeah, there's a beginning part of that side where it's captured from the side that's usually cut off, and you can see her where she pulls into the street when ICE is coming.
Okay. I mean, as far as from what I've seen, she's one of the leaders of this protest against ICE. That's what I understand.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
been arrested.
Okay.
She's been arrested previously for blocking roads.
Okay, well there you go. But okay, but I don't think that would have been in the officer's mind. But there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were just
Now,
probably scared because she stopped them.
Oh, she's been involved like in protests before. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she's been arrested for blocking traffic on the roads.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
During ICE things? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if she's been arrested like while marching or anything.
I haven't heard that. All I've heard of her side of the story is she was just this kind, loving person. She wasn't there for the protest. Like she was fucking visiting the city or something.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember. I think the officer that shot her had been drugged by a car like 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Did you see that? Christy Nome in a press conference. Have you heard this one? Christy Nome in a press conference said that officer had been had been drugged by a car last year.
Yeah.
And when she said that, the smart whizzy tech kids online took them about 10 minutes to find out the officer's name. He basically identified the officer in a roundabout way because all they did was search for any officer in the state of Minnesota that was drugged by a car last year, and there was only one.
Yeah, I just Googled it. It was back in June.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that'll be a point that defense raises if it ever gets to trial. Or not defense, sorry, prosecution. Is that prosecution would raise that.
JD Vance said JD Vance said the officer has full immunity. Absolute immunity.
Yeah, I don't think JD Vance or Trump or anyone should really be sort of chiming in on this. I think they should just stay quiet.
Well, man, the local, like the state, is significantly anti-ICE. So the officer will probably at least go to trial.
Right.
Yeah. Police.
Is he okay? The crime's in Minnesota, so I guess that's where the trial would take place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Police have qualified immunity. They don't have like absolute immunity. They can't just fucking act with impunity.
Well, no, that's true. I mean, obviously, like cops can, like with a shooting, a cop can be investigated. Like take Derek Chauvin for example. You know, cops can be tried for murder. The question will be, in the course of the investigation, whether the prosecution believes that they have enough evidence to bring that to trial. And I think what is it Cerberus said?
Yeah.
I think you're correct. In Minnesota, I guess if they can get a jury from Minnesota, if they can, and because they can pick and choose jury members through the process, yada yada. I mean, they could easily think that they have a good chance of prosecution. So, who knows? I think it might be. Personally, I'm just like some guy with popcorn on the other side of the world, just going, I'm not sure it would reach that level of criminal liability. That's all.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't even know if it'll go to trial.
I'm not thinking so.
I'm thinking it's going to be another Rittenhouse thing where it's going to go to trial,
right?
And hopefully the way to balance the jury works, and then we're going to have a second riot like 6 months from now.
What was her race and nationality?
White.
I don't know.
White. Pretty sure she was white.
Yeah, she looked white. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? She might be Hispanic. No
Yeah,
idea.
I thought she looked kind of Hispanic.
Can I be sexist for a minute? I don't mind.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, don't kill the stream. Yeah, go
I
for it.
don't mind.
There are very few jobs I think women shouldn't do, and I think cops is one of them. Street cops, right? They could be like something else, cops, but
Yeah, there are arguments to be made for that. I take your point. I don't think that's sexist as much as realist.
I have one lingering question in my head because I haven't seen the footage. I assume you all have. Was there a like before you fire on a target, you want to be sure of your backstop? Like, what was there? Was he in any danger of shooting anybody else?
I reckon you should just watch the video. That'll probably answer all those kinds of questions.
That's a great, excellent idea.
unlikely because it's straight through the front of, well, slightly angled through the front of the car downward. So the backstop would be the rest of the car in the street.
Right.
Yeah, so it was probably okay as far as that goes.
Well, and he hit what he was aiming at for sure.
Yeah, it was pretty much point blank. I mean, but again, mistakes could be made. Again, that's feasible. He could have made an error and shot through and through and it landed somewhere else. That's possible. I don't think it did though.
Right. And I'm not one to make excuses for cops, but I can't imagine unless you're, I don't know, I would think that cop is suffering some kind of emotional fucking trauma.
Do you mean from what happened to him last year or from this event?
No, the fact that he just took somebody's life.
Oh, look, I have no doubt. I don't think, I mean, look, I don't know. I'm sure there are people on the force who relish violence and no doubt those people are there. But I don't think I think most people in that position really are going to be deeply affected by it. I don't think I don't know him, but I would doubt that it's a case of yay, I got somebody. I really don't think that's
Right.
That's how they play. I think in the chat, Nuanced Nudie Branch made an interesting comment. I imagine Trump is going to initiate an executive order that protects ICE agents. That's actually possible. Yeah, he may very well do that.
It won't matter in the U.S.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
It won't matter. How's that?
Well, what sort of protection could he give them that they don't already have?
The states are sovereign in all ways except for trade.
Okay.
Yeah, they can. The president could pardon this agent, and it wouldn't matter. The state could still throw her in prison.
Okay. Yeah, because you guys have that whole federal state combination, right?
Yeah. It was a female police officer? No.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
That shot the
no,
woman?
it was a bloke.
It was a dude.
Oh, it was a bloke?
Yeah, they know his name.
Oh, okay. I misread this. It probably is a dude.
So there goes your sexist shit.
But the point was well taken. It could still work in the conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, definitely a tragedy all around. But I mean, obviously things are heating. I mean, you guys were talking about civil war and stuff. I mean, I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but obviously,
I sure hope not.
Obviously things are heating up, and this whole ICE thing. I mean, it could just be that on social media there's a bias in favor of showing that kind of stuff, but it does seem to be heating up. ICE versus immigrants and the tactics that they're employing, etc.
Well, it's we're on a slippery slope here, as far as I can tell, because tempers are going to flare, And the media, I don't know about the media, social media. There's definitely a lot of infighting going on right now between the left and the right, and it just seems to be getting more and more fucking inflamed.
Is it just getting inflamed on social media, or is that actually what's happening in reality?
It's right. It's hard to say, and that's the scary thing, because if it gets inflamed on social media, that then pushes out into the public, and people act on that shit. And now, yeah, fuck. I don't know. I just hope if people are gonna fucking protest, the only way it's gonna work is if they do it peacefully. And I'm just speaking of the left, basically.
Okay, so again, Nuanced Nudie Branch is saying that it is actually happening in reality. Okay, so it's not just online. There are 100% tensions in real life between. Okay, so really, so I mean that's worrisome. I think that is quite scary.
It is.
If the tensions online mirror what's happening in real life, then yeah, that is actually worrisome.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing that worries me, and this is perhaps a project or a product of social media. The thing that worries me is Trump and his ilk, his cabinet or whatever. Will they see this as an opportunity to come down even more heavy-handed with the military, or go to martial law, or
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Look, I think the Trump administration have made it very clear. They're framing this very, very much as a extremist left versus centrist right issue. And I'm just describing what I see them doing. I'm not saying that they're correct or anything like that. It's not like I think, Trump has value, but in a lot of ways he's a bit of a dickhead as well. But that's the way I think they're framing it. So that I think, they're obviously not neutral. Their comments are definitely stoking tensions. But then again, same can be said for the left as well. Left politicians, from what I've seen from Democrats, maybe both sides want chaos.
Well, no, I think the governor, Wallace, is that his last name? Tim Wallace?
Walls.
Walls.
W-A-L-Z, I think.
Ran for VP. I think he called in the National Guard today.
For what purpose?
All the riots.
Yeah, that was. I think that was a good move on his part. Maybe like strategic. He called out the Minnesota National Guard, I think, kind of preemptively, so Trump couldn't use the Minnesota National Guard against Minnesota.
Right. And then that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, these politicians are going to play these games of, I did it, I didn't do it. It's all about optics for them, I think, rather than actually solving the problem. Because I think a crisis works for both sides. That's the way I'd see it.
I agree.
Black Manosphere, you're very silent in the corner there. Not with us. Okay. Democrats have been, so I'm just going to read a couple of comments. Democrats have been, this is from, again, Nuanced Nudie Branch. Democrats have increasingly been trying to maintain the olive branch in a sense of stability, and this isn't even bias. It's reality to the point that it caught the ire of the left. Yeah. Ever since before Trump was reelected. I'm I in my opinion, I think there's more problems with the left than with the right at this point in time. That's my opinion. I'm not saying the right doesn't have its absolute whack jobs, but my understanding, my reading of it, and again, I'm reading through a screen from another country, so what I'm seeing could be biased. But from what I've seen, it's definitely the left, which is. I use the word definitely, but I shouldn't say that. From what I've seen, it looks to me as though the left is the more whack job side at this point in time. But again, whether that's accurate or not, my lens could be distorted.
I will say that the first upgrade you can do to your lens, it's real easy. Forget the terms right and left.
Are you talking about the Reagan idea, top down?
No, just forget the terms right and left when describing groups of people.
Okay, and how go with that thought? How do you do that?
Well, you have to break down all that gets lumped in there. Right, so in the right wing in America, you have libertarians. Right, then you got
Okay.
the little subgroup of people that are not really Nazis, but they really hate Israel.
Yep.
Then you got the actual Nazis that are socialists, but are right wing.
Right. Point taken.
Like,
yeah. Right and left.
That's why they look schizophrenic, because there's a bunch of groups in there that don't agree with each other.
Yes.
And I also agree. I don't know. Agree. That I'm certain. I don't think I've ever met anybody personally, but I'm certain there are factions of people that exist that are basically anarchists and want to see social disruption. And they will fan the flames from the left hard.
Yeah. Well, they'll do it on either side.
But yeah, exactly. Just that's a good point. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Both sides are going to be culpable to some degree, like the extremes.
But it's not the sides. It's not the sides.
Sorry.
We have this group that has an ideology that doesn't really fit anywhere because it's sort of anti every other ideology. And whenever there's a protest that isn't a riot, they will proceed to try and make it a riot by breaking windows and robbing places and rallying people.
And that and from where you stand, that's not a left right thing. That's just people just want to see chaos and watch the world burn thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like either side will describe them as the other side.
Right. Yep.
But
again, I'd like to respond to Nuanced Nudie Branch's comment again. You should come on, mate, because you're making some good comments. I mean, she strongly disagrees with what I said, which is great. The whack job, they come off as whack jobs to equal degrees in different flavors, especially if we're talking about the commies and the further left. Yeah, again, the extremes are the problem. There's no doubt. But unfortunately, I think the extremes are the more vocal ones, and there's some kind of they get the airtime, as it were. Unfortunately,
I kind of wonder. Like the hair on the back of my neck stands up a little bit. Like what's really going on behind the scenes?
aliens. It's always aliens.
Behind, like what are they trying to hide? You got all this unrest going on, and like you mentioned earlier, never waste a good crisis.
Yeah, I don't know. There's that side, but there's also the side of sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Sometimes it just is what it is. Who knows? Who knows what machinations are going on behind the scenes?
See, I think we have two main establishments that are sort of really one thing because they agree on like 95% of everything, right? And then we have a bunch of little groups around that are not very well informed, but they're very loud. Like you have the tankies, right, and the anarchists and stuff. And then Spread out through all of this, we have what's being called the accelerationist cults. Right? There's a bunch of groups that range in ideology. Right? Some of them are socialist and communist. Some of them are actual neo-Nazis, like actual Nazis, and all over the place. And they just like to break stuff. They want things to break. That's why they're called accelerationists. They try to do everything they can to make it unstable as possible.
Absolutely, I don't dispute that at all. Those elements are absolutely present.
Oh, America has a lot of them, though.
Do you see Stephen Miller as one of those people, sir?
Are you asking me?
Sir.
Sir.
No, I don't. I would have to look up to see if he's associated with any of those. But I know a bunch of them off the top of my head, like Manic Murder Cult. Was it 764? No Lives Matter. The Order of Nine Angels. Temple of Blood, the Blaze, the Autowaffen. The Com, like the network. There's a bunch of big ones. They have like tens of thousands of members.
Brojo, you're back on. You want to jump in?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where you're at in the time box.
And Black Manosphere, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. What's your take on where we're at?
I'm just really listening in, trying to really get more of an understanding.
I will say this: whoever's doing it, whatever's behind it, the old divide and conquer is in play, and you're always going to have these extremes on the left, right. If you want to look at it that way, but again, yeah, to Serb's point, I think 75% we can probably agree on. Most people, no matter what your ideology, that you desire the same things. You just want to live your life. You want to be able to do things and be left alone.
Yeah, I agree.
Live
we
life.
all have to follow. We all have to follow the law. So
Of course.
But again, I mean, for one of sounding glib, there is that adage that says, you may not care about politics, but politics definitely cares about you. And so it's just, for better or for worse, it's one of these unfortunate realities of life that, again, I'm using scare quotes here, living in a society is going to expose you to this kind of stuff. There are just going to be some things that are beyond your control, and you're just going to have to go with the current of the stream, unless you want to actually get in the ring and participate in trying to influence the direction of the stream.
Exactly. Stop complaining and do something about it lawfully. I mean, if you have like 1 million people show up at like the White House or whatever, protesting peacefully, in unison, we want this, and this. I think you'll see change, but people they're just so busy, right, trying to stay afloat, or they're just don't care, or scared, or they just live in fear.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of people probably don't care, and a lot of people probably are scared because they don't know the direction, they don't know where things are going to go. And that lack of certainty, definitely, I think, can put people on the back foot.
And people got to stop looking for like messiahs. People looking at Trump like it's a messiah figure, or Obama, same kind of deal. I believe the change starts first within, but on a local level. Start on the bottom up in your own community. That's where it starts. You're not going to get it from top down. It's going to be bottom up. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and that's what scares me. And I just over the last week, I've ran into 2 or 3 more people that have basically advocated that Trump needs to be king for a while. Trump needs to be able to do what he needs to do to get this country back on track. And I don't understand that.
Is the
Some people
country
are saying
off track?
Trump needs to be king. Is that what you said?
Yes, I have literally heard some people say that that's what we need. Like Trump needs to be king. Trump needs to have faith to straighten this whole mess out. And that is so far from American or our Constitution. It just scares me a little bit that people are like kind of like what Brojo was saying. Like people have so much faith in a Messiah that if you just let Trump do what he needs to do, listen to him, everything will work out. Like he needs to be the dad in the room and get all the kids straightened out.
I think part of the sentiment is, see, as much as we love our system, there's always a downside. Right? There's always a trade-off to everything, and one of the trade-offs is we have administrations changing every 4 years. So to get any kind of significant change is very slow and going, and so much bureaucracy. And though we want the checks and balances, sometimes it just delays progress getting anything done. That's why I mean, I'd be more for like term limits, these kind of things to get things moving. But I think that's part of the sentiment behind having a king, because they have the ability to get things done quickly without,
I know. But it's real good that things can't get done quickly.
Yeah,
Even if,
and you do things
right? But one of the main key features of the system is it takes so long to get stuff done. So if it can be solved by the people without politics, it has time to be solved.
That's a great point. I agree with you. It's a good thing that things can't be done quickly. Obviously, on the other side of that, there should be a limit, I guess. But I really do agree with that. And I think with Trump's mentality, he's not a politician. He didn't come up through the ranks of politics and bureaucracy. His life has been about just doing stuff and then cleaning up the mess later, which is pretty much standard for people in his world. Businessmen, entrepreneurs, they just go like hell for leather. We're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then it's up to the back room, the legal and the accounting, to sort of sort things out if they cock up, or to somehow make it so that they didn't cock up. I think that's Trump's mentality to a certain extent. This is the first time, well, no, it's the second time, obviously, that he's in a role where there are actually effective checks and balances against what he can do. And I think that's quite an alien environment for him.
Yeah, I think he's just learning right now that the president has a lot of power to move the military around without having to ask permission.
So you reckon he's been trying to find the thing that he can do without checks and balances, and he's going to do that?
Yeah. He's just been probably searching for like 5 years. Just finally stumbled across something. Oh wait, I can deploy the Marines without permission.
That's great. That's probably true.
And both sides will be on board because they're going to be making money.
Yeah, I 100% think that he is pushing the legal boundary of everything as far as he possibly fucking can.
Yeah, and again, I think that's just his character. Take it or leave it. Again, I'm not I'm not necessarily siding with the guy. I'm just saying that that's who he is, and maybe as well, that's probably why he was voted in. People like that. Though, from your average person, they're probably just sick of, again, the slowness, I guess. Maybe people prefer it, that things just get done quickly, but only if it's on their side. Once it starts on the other side, oh, we've got to slow this down. We need balances and all that kind of stuff. Like Nuance Nudie, you're saying there, he's trampling on legal boundaries. Yeah, look, I mean, in his first term, he made some comments talking about removing guns without due process. Now, I'm not saying I'm pro-gun, but I'm a due process fucking extremist, a fanatic. And when a president starts talking about eliminating due process, that makes my ears pricken, and I just kind of don't like that kind of talk. And I think there may possibly be a case, and I'm not as informed as I need to be to make a completely educated, to express an educated opinion on this, but I think it looks like a case could be made that due process is being waived, and again, bringing it back to ICE, with regard even to illegal immigrants. Like I'm against illegal immigration and all that, but due process is really fucking important. It's unfortunate, and it's one of those things it's absolutely inefficient. It's very slow, but it's for a reason. So,
I don't know what it is where you are. In America, due process just means the process laid out by law.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I agree. What's your name? DNW. Right?
My name's Steve, but DNW is not here for a second. He's off for a second.
Okay. I agree with you. Due process is important, and I'm not a legal scholar either, but the whole immigration thing and deporting people to El Salvador, in our Constitution, I can't think of any extenuating circumstances off the top of my head. If you're in the U.S., even if you're here illegally, you still have the right to due process under our Constitution. It doesn't say in our Constitution you have to be, if you have to be an American citizen in America to have due process.
Right, but I think what Cerberus said is actually a very important point. Due process is what the law requires, or what the law permits, and I guess that could be a legal positivist position. I mean, I'm a Kiwi, and I live in Japan, and in countries like Japan, if you come here illegally, or if you come here legally and you break the law, there is no, you're out, you're just gone. You're not going to get, and you're probably going to go to prison before you're gone. So there's no, it's a very different world out here. And I kind of, my foot's in both camps in a certain sense when it comes to the illegal stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the due process, going to jail first. That whole process is the due process.
Well,
like this is the way I see it. They deported a bunch of people, and at one point they were told by a judge, you can't do that, and they said the planes already took off, and he said, I don't give a fuck, turn the planes around, you can't do that. And part of the reason for that is all of those people were rounded up and deported to El Salvador. Like, a lot of them, as far as I know, didn't even come from El Salvador, but they were just rounded up. As far as I can tell, they were never given an opportunity. I don't think there was due process, but
I can tell you about that.
You may be able to make the argument that there was.
So I can tell you about that. The federal government does not have to follow the orders of a state court. Right. And secondly, there's no rule that says where you have to deport someone to. You can just deport. Deporting is just get them out of the country. You could drop them off right over the border. You could fly them across the world and dump them on an island. It doesn't matter according to U.S. law.
Okay, so at what point do you prove that they're here illegally?
Oh, you would just look them up. Right. If they would give you their name, or if they had ID, they give you their ID or whatever. You just look them up. If they have a record of being a U.S. citizen, then they're a U.S. citizen, and if they're not, you just deport them. That's literally the whole due process. Right? 'Cause you're not trying them for murder or anything, right? They're just here when they're not supposed to
Yeah.
be. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty easy to find out if someone's not meant to be there. That's actually one of the easiest things to prove anywhere. You know, every country is going to have its standards for proof. Like in Japan, we call it the gaijin card, but it's the residency card. And if you have to carry it with you everywhere, and if the cops come up to speak to you and they create a pretense for a legal justification for speaking to you, and they ask for your immigration, which is basically your immigration card or your immigration status, you have to give it to them. And if you don't give it to them, they can legally take you to jail here. Those are the rules. Play by the rules.
Oh, yeah, we don't have those rules here.
Right.
Basically absent any crime, I don't have to show a cop ID at all, unless I'm suspected of a crime, or suspected I'm about to commit a crime, or have had committed a crime. The cops
Yeah, I mean, I think the same could be said here as well.
The cops can't just walk up to us here and say, identify yourselves. Identify yourself just because they're a fucking cop.
Well, they can ask. They're allowed to ask.
Yeah.
Mm.
They can ask.
It's a gray area at times. You know, that's true. You're correct. But I think in some of these situations, it comes down to a choice. How far do you want to push this as an individual against the police? Like, maybe, yes, the start of the interaction, you could theoretically defend if you had to have went all the way to a judicial process. But you know, sure, that's one way of looking at it. But in some cases, it's just easier to show them and get on with your day. I don't know.
That's true.
I'm just trying to keep up, but I'm terrible at multitasking. I'm just I mean, if you want to talk about being sexist, I'm one of these guys who can only do one thing at a time. So let me have a look at what's going in the comments. I think you're confusing, but okay. This land is Sage, they have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion. Yeah, so Sage, I think you're right. Well, I don't think you're right. I as far as I'm aware, the law in most countries will have something in the legislation that says the cops need to have a reasonable, legally justifiable reason. Sure, okay. And you can tell them to fuck off if you want to. That's fine. But I think in a lot of these cases, you know, sure, the cops may be acting illegally, but if you want to push back against that, it's a game of chicken at that point. Who's going to move first? And I don't know, how much of a hero do you want to be?
And you better have a video. You better have it on video.
That's right. I mean, look, yeah. You know, I mean, again, like I said before, I mean, I understand what Cerberus said about due process being what the law requires or what the law permits, and I agree with that. But I also think of due process as making it extremely difficult to incarcerate people. That's kind of the angle I was going with that.
Yeah.
But on the other side, hey, you know, you can either be a hero and get stuck in the system for 5 or 10 years, half of which might be spent inside a prison cell, or you can just show the guy, you can say, look, here's my ID. I'm just going to continue on, and do what I'm doing
Right.
today.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when they ask for your name, you just tell them you can call me my Lord and Savior. And then if you want to tell me what crime you think I've committed, I'll give you a different name.
You can call me good citizen.
And again, it probably depends on what country you're in as well. Like your chances of, over here you wouldn't have a hope in hell, so I wouldn't play that game.
Right.
In America, I might have the guts to do it, but I don't know.
It depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a more rural area, small little towns,
Right.
it is way easier to assert your rights with the police. If you're in an urban environment, you might as well just kiss your ass goodbye if you start mouthing off.
I like Gaia the Sage's response. You say, my name is Good Citizen.
Good citizen.
But I would prefer pronouns Lord too. You call me Lord.
Yeah, no, my Lord and Savior. They're probably a Christian. Right? You just force it. Right? Either they do it the right way, or they can just not stop talking to you.
Look, I agree with that. Look, we, again, I'm just going to repeat what I said before. You can do that. That's fine. Have at it. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to a game of chicken. So,
right. Where are you coming from? Back there.
Yeah, oh my God. I've actually done that myself quite a few times. Where were you? And I just point. I was like, that way. Where you going? And point the other direction that way.
yeah, and I mean, I've been questioned by cops here, and I've kind of been. Yeah, there are certain ways of doing things, and I've been very careful about my approach. So, if it just depends on how far you want to push things.
Oh yeah, you're in a whole different ballgame there. You're in Japan, right? As a Kiwi.
Yeah, and I'm not a citizen, so
right.
I respect that. I understand that game.
Yeah.
You should. I've been told the Japanese police are actually pretty lenient.
Yeah. Well, how do you? Okay, I'll let you continue.
Well, that's kind of it. That's just what I heard. They're pretty lenient. Like you have to do quite a bit before they start trying to arrest you.
Yeah, I think that's I would actually agree with that. The other side of that though, they have a conviction rate of like it's in the high 90s, and that can be seen one of two ways. They either very very picky about who they select for prosecution, or there's corruption, and it's probably a mix of both. But yeah, I think you're actually right, and I think also in a weird way, being a foreigner here is kind of gives you a shield, because a lot of cops just don't want to get involved with you. They just want to avoid the hassle of dealing with this guy, this white guy. They just, or not Japanese. They just don't want the hassle. There is a lot of that, I think.
Yeah, I think back to all those old Jackass skits where they were stripping naked and grinding on police officers in Japan.
Right.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, if that happened in America, you probably get shot.
What? We have a friend named Sammy that's an Aussie, and he spends time in the Philippines. And he was saying in the Philippines, you can't smoke in public. Like you can't smoke a cigarette in public. And he said, but when he's there as an Aussie, like if he ducks out to the back and goes into an alley and has a smoke, if the locals see him smoking, the local police, they won't really fuck with him. But if there's any Filipinos that are out smoking on the street, they'll put the fucking hammer down.
Because they're the ones supposed to be setting the example.
Yeah, but he said it's kind of a weird thing. They kind of come down harder on their own people, and they maybe more or less like give the tourists a pass because they need the tourist dollars.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a factor. I'm a weenie in front of cops. Is that physical stature or you? No, that I would imagine that's what it is because I don't imagine you would be a wallflower in personality. Yeah. Again, it just depends on the jurisdiction. Like again, some things if you try, I mean, yeah, it just depends on the jurisdiction and how cops what they want to do. But at the end of the day, I think, regardless of where you are, in the instant that this kind of situation happens, the cops hold the upper hand, whether you like it or not. And so, you just have to make a decision. How far do I want to go with this?
Might makes right. They got the gun.
And have a camera, like Cerberus said. I mean, it gets to the point where you start wondering, should I buy a GoPro and just walk around recording every step I take?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't recommend anyone do what I do with the police because I've worked with a lot of the police around me for many years. So most of them, everyone except for the new ones know who I am. So I can get away with going just a tiny bit too far.
Right. Yeah, I'm the same here. Like over here, they have what they call a Koban, which is, a little police box, basically, just everywhere. And there's always one or two cops in there. And I everywhere I've lived, I've always made a habit of just going and introducing myself and saying who I am, and that pretty much solves any future problems. DNW, you're back in the land. Are you all right, bro? That's horrible news.
Yeah,
that
it is.
that
It
you
is
heard this
sad
morning.
news. Yeah, it just makes you realize life is short, and you never know what's going to happen. I'm kind of. He was a friend. It was a guy in a group that I meet sometimes. I used to meet. Well, he's gone now, but a group in a bar I used to go to hang out in, and he was one of the guys that used to join us at the table. And yeah, the last time I saw him was 4th of December, and it's funny because he was bugging me because he was bugging me to go out with him as a kind of sidekick because he wanted to get a woman, and I didn't want to. I really didn't want to go, because yeah, I've obviously got a partner, but I just couldn't be bothered. You know what I mean? I was too old for this shit. You know what I mean? But he kept bugging me, so then I went, and I'm kind of glad I did now, because that's literally the last time I saw him, So that was back 4th of December. Yeah, he was a big dude, man. He was like 6'2", but built like a brick shit house, and he was into his martial arts. He looked like a Maori, actually. Dogs. Everyone used to say he looked like a Maori. He's not sure if he had any. He reckons he might have had some Maori DNA, but I don't think he did. I don't know. I think he had.
Was he a Pom or was he from the?
Yeah, he
colonies?
was from here. He's from here. No, he's from
right.
here. I think his dad was like mixed race from the Caribbean or something, but he was actually in a few films as well as extras. He used to make a bit of money being extras in some films. And anyway, yeah, he apparently last time I texted him was the 28th of December. I just saw my text, and I was telling him to look after himself because he had this like gout. He looked really well for his age. He was older than me. He was like 50 or 51, and he looked really well. He actually looked in his 30s, but he did suffer from like gout, and he was vegan. He was into his health, but the thing about him was he would not go to a doctor ever. He would not take anything in terms of medicine from a doctor, and no matter how you tried to push him in that way, he wouldn't listen. And he suffered with gout for a long time. He was in a lot of pain for that, but I don't even know. Maybe it wasn't gout. Maybe it was something else. I don't know what he died from. He was basically found dead in his bed, as far as I'm aware. The fire brigade sent up a ladder and looked in his window and saw him in his bed, and then they obviously broke the door down, and yeah, he was. They reckon he passed away about 5 days ago. So yeah, it comes to us all. Yeah, comes to
I'm
us
really
all.
sorry to hear that, man. That's terrible.
It's sad because the guy he was kind of I reckon he had something. He was on the spectrum somehow or other, so he was a little bit socially awkward sometimes, but he was also he was very attractive to the ladies. That all the ladies liked him. You know what I mean? And I feel sorry for him because he was extremely lonely. You know what I mean? So I'm just sad that I didn't actually see him during the Christmas period. Like I was busy, I couldn't have anyway. But yeah, I'm sad that perhaps he struggled alone in his flat over the Christmas period and then just died. Because yeah, he had that gout problem. So his mobility probably wasn't great. Maybe he wasn't eating properly or something. I don't know what happened. I'm really quite shocked because other than that, he was actually a personal trainer and he was really fit and he used to do all jogging, running, and he had a gym set up at home and stuff. So he was actually physically fit prior to this gout problem, But I don't know what got him in the end. I presume it could have been that he didn't eat the right thing, maybe.
Well, it could
I
be
don't.
anything. Gout can it could be a kidney problem. It could be I think diabetes is connected to gout as well.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
There's a close.
Yeah.
But again, what the fuck do I know?
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But as I say, it is sad and it is hard. I tried my best to get him to a doctor, but he wouldn't listen. I don't know if you've ever met people like that in your life, but yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, I hope he's in a better place. I hope he's in a better place at peace. He was kind of spiritual. He was a Taoist. He was into his like Taoism, and I said he was into his martial arts, so he was heavily influenced by all that kind of stuff. And he had really good morals, believe it or not. As I said, the women used to throw themselves at him, but he wouldn't take them home for a quick one-nighter. He was very picky, and he was very, very much kind of upset he'd never met the one. He was a romantic, and as I said, he had strong morals. He was upset that he never met the one, someone he could really connect with. That was his sadness, and he was lonely. He died very, very lonely. So in many ways, he is free now, and I hope he's at peace.
How old was he, mate? If he's one of your lads,
he was like 50, 51. He was older than me.
Young.
Yeah, 50, 51. Yeah. And as I said, if you saw him, other than when he had the gout, his joints were swollen up on his fists a bit, and sometimes his face used to get a bit puffy. But when he wasn't, he looked like, as I said, he was in a lot of films where you needed to, like he was an extra in a few Hollywood films where you needed to be in tip-top shape, put it that way. You know what I mean? So he usually looked very healthy,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Health PSA for everyone listening. If you get the gout and you haven't been eating organ meat, go to the doctor and figure out what it is, because it can be caused by anything that causes bad circulation, including heart issues.
So gout can be caused by heart issues. It could be. Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In fact, that's the number one death for people that have gout is they have a heart issue.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry guys. Thanks for listening and for all the kind comments in the chat. But yeah, what were you guys talking about? You're talking about the ice stuff. I mean, what's the kind of
the US?
Yeah, is anybody worried? Nobody here is. Yeah, what I thought was interesting is nobody here is particularly worried about a civil war in America. But I was trying to say to these guys that we often get people on here saying, "Oh my God, there's going to be a civil war, and it's going to happen like yesterday." But these guys, at least when I was listening, I haven't been listening for about an hour and a bit, have I? But they were saying, "No, it's not going to happen." Isn't that interesting, Yuff?
Because you weren't listening, I said earlier, I don't know, because I'm not there. I don't know whether it's because it's so amplified on social media. I don't know if that same divide is in real life, but Nuanced in the chat said it is the same in real life. I think others are saying it is. I don't know. Online, there's obviously a divide and, people are trying to kick up a fuss and stuff, but I don't know what it's like on the ground over there. I've got no idea.
Yeah, America's kind of designed to be in a perpetual state of falling apart. So
It's definitely divided. Like I'm 60 years old, and I've seen more divisiveness in the last 8 years than like I've ever seen. And I don't think we're like on the brink of civil war, but you never really know where the fucking brink is.
Yeah, everything happens really slowly until it doesn't, and it happens really fast. That's how things tend to go.
Yeah, and who knows? Like, I'm not even sure what's going on. I mean, I'm sure there's people marching around certain cities right now, but somebody's been shot now, and the left is calling the cop. Well, I hate to say the left and the right. The left is calling the cop a murderer, and the right's saying the cop was justified. And I don't.
I mean, we may be headed into another summer of love.
Yeah, I don't. I don't like the word murder being used.
In this case, or generally?
Yeah, I don't like the left. A lot of pundits, social media, whatever. Right out of the gate, the fucking headline is the cop murdered an innocent woman.
Yeah, but that's how it works. It works on both sides as well. Yeah, that's
it does. But I would. I don't know. I wish we could tone back that shit a little bit, but.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. The extremists on both sides tend to occupy the airwaves, whereas people who just want to barbecue just kind of get on with what they're doing.
Right. And then you got, then you hear online or whatever, or through the media, then you hear, one opinion is she was murdered, and the other opinion is she got what was coming to her.
Yeah, I mean, nuanced your comment there. You don't like the word murder. You don't. It's a question. You don't like the word murder for an intentional killing, where she was not posing an imminent threat that would warrant self-defense. The issue or the problem I have with that kind of question, is it an intentional killing? I mean, in a legal sense, intentional killing. Maybe the cops' training could be, I was trained to make sure that the person is incapacitated, which is another word for saying da da da. What you say she wasn't posing an imminent threat? That's yet to be decided. You know, I don't these kinds of words, these kinds of questions, the foundation of them, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Until it either ends up, and again, we may never know if it doesn't end up in a court. We may never know. We just don't. We may never know exactly what people have ruled. Although in this case it's national, so it's really important. So we probably will.
You don't even need that standard. That's actually a higher standard than what we use. It's going to come down to whether it's reasonable for the person to have thought they were in danger.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if they were actually in danger.
Yep.
Right. And if she acted in self-defense, is that what you're saying? Then what, she was using her car to defend herself?
I agree with Nudie.
I don't want to be nitpicky, but that doesn't make any sense.
I agree with Nudie. Yes, probably it is an intentional killing, but just because that's the way cops are trained. The video shows she wasn't an imminent threat. Yeah, 50-50.
Right. The video shows you that, but you don't know. None of us can know what was going through that cop's mind. And no matter what happened, I don't I don't think. I don't
Nudie,
think. I don't think.
Sorry,
And
Nudie
I
says that he was fleeing. That says to me that you know what her intention was. You were in her mind. She may very well, that may very well have been the case. I don't know. None of us do. I don't know what she was thinking at that point in time. It may have been, could have been a bit of both. Maybe she was trying to get away and kind of knock the cop as she went. None of us know what her state of mind was right there and then.
Yeah, but like nuance though, you're not making. I know you're thinking you're making a good argument, but you're not. If we took you personally, gave you a gun, and put you in front of a vehicle that you thought was going to come at you, you would have shot her too. And that's what it comes down to. Is that the actual situation? Did he think that the car was coming at him? Nothing else matters. Literally nothing else matters.
Well, the only other thing I was going to say is I don't think, and I hope, I don't think that cop set out to shoot somebody that day. I mean, situations happened, and maybe in retrospect he was in error, but
Nudie, you want to come up and have a chat?
To just call it murder is it's just inflammatory language.
Yeah, you have to actually be psychic, like your dogs was pointing out.
Right, guys, there's somebody new here. I'm going to bring them on 1 second. Idol Smasher, you're on the show. What would you like to add to the conversation?
Oh, we know him. That's James.
Idol Smasher.
Yeah. I'll vouch for him. He's cool.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing tonight?
So
tonight here in the Lone Star, or the where am I at? The Sunflower State today. Hi, everybody. I had some technical difficulties and kind of lost on the conversation when we were discussing when I forgot who was saying they don't like throwing around the word murder immediately in these situations, and that struck me, and that's when I don't know where the conversation went though, so I apologize on that.
Do you know what they were referring to? The Minneapolis situation,
right, where the lady
the
was shot.
The lady, yeah.
I've seen about 6 different angles, slowed down. I've seen the car, it was the cop was in front of her and she was already instigating traffic. She was already parking and blocking traffic. She was the head of it. Her wife was out recording the thing. That's the video most of the media is using. So already there was something going on, and ICE came in to move them. And she took off, and there was a ICE dude, agent, I don't know what he was, officer, whatever, in front, and they told her stop, get out of your car, and she refused, and she put it in drive, and actually you could see the wheels spinning on the ice. This wasn't trying to get out of a parking spot, and the guy had actually gotten drugged before, like 3 months ago. The dude actually got drugged by a car. Who is an instigator again at these deportations, and so yeah, it's kind of obvious. She could have been a gun, yeah. I mean, yeah, but he also could have punched her. But if he punched her, that would have been worse, or could have caused damage. And the guy, it was a split-second thing. The kind of people he's dealing with, people who have no problem taking your life. These are officers of the law. They're not Gestapo. We had 20 million people fled in here. Okay. Okay. It's got to be a bit more industrious, I guess, than your average local, we got to, bring a couple, dozen back to the border. So, when you look at all the angles and really take time to look at the evidence that's been presented, because it brought a lot of attention. Like I said, the lady's wife was outside the vehicle filming already. So it was already a protest. It was an in-your-face thing. Her wife said, you know, in retrospect, and bless her, she's mourning, and she has a lot to take on because, you know, her wife had, you know, 3 kids. So, but she even said it's my fault because I brought her down here to join this. Otherwise, she'd have been at home. So, you know, it's. I think it's going to be legal. I think that the ICE agent, considering what they're up against and what they've been up against and how many attempts on their life, these people are, you know, they're saying free Maduro, and they go to an Iranian rally and scream free Palestine at these people. They're just, they're out of their minds, man. And yeah, I think the officer is going to be exonerated. I don't think there's any wrongdoing. It was obvious. She didn't care if she was going to cause harm to him, and she had no reason to be. And they were in she was already blocking traffic. See, we have a First Amendment that
What
says
about their
right,
what about their remit? Nuance Nudibrandt says they're not cops. They're only meant to deal with immigration issues. They were acting outside of their remit. Do you? I mean, they had guns, right? I mean, they can still say self-defense, but I mean, she's of the opinion that it wasn't self-defense. It was an egregious act of aggression.
Yes.
But anyway, she says they weren't meant. They had no right to do it. They're not cops. They were acting outside of their remit. What do you think of that?
She already broke her rights, because in the United States we have the right to peacefully assemble. You don't have the right to stop anybody doing what they're doing, let alone traffic of the common man, let alone an officer of the law. Okay, so he's specified, but who is she to get in the way? Who is any man the right to get in the way of law enforcement? Especially when the person is obstructing the common man. You have the right to travel in the U.S., and nobody has the right to stop you from doing that. That's not peaceably assembling. So you've already violated 2 different rights one right twice, just by doing what she was doing. She wasn't blocking just ICE. She was blocking traffic, period. And she was the spearhead, apparently, of other stuff. So you don't have the right to stop another person from going where they're going. Her rights are done. She was already breaking the law, is my point, on a very fundamental level in American life. It's one thing to assemble. It's one thing to redress your grievances and get your message out there. It's another thing to obstruct the lives of other people or law enforcement. That's that you stop it right there. And the fact that get out of your car, you're obstructing, we're law enforcement, we need to get in here and do this. And no, she didn't. She chose to drive off and probably could have driven over the guy. I mean,
what do you say? What do you say to some people? I've heard people saying this is like an acid test for the American society. Now, obviously, this is coming from people who disagree with you, Idol. They're saying that this is like Trump's brown shirts. I saw Trump's brown shirts. You know, they're like the SS, and basically, yeah. If American society lets this slide, well, then this might become the norm. They'll just go around shooting people willy-nilly, and you know they'll come up with some excuse that, well, they were getting in the way of what Trump wants.
It's not what Trump wants. It's the law. We don't have a king. We have a law. We are subordinate to the law and those subjected to it. 14th Amendment says those who are subjected, or who are subjects of America, of American law, have the full legal right as a citizen. But if you're here on visa, you're here on green card, you don't have.
What do you think of this?
You're not a subject to our law.
What do you think of some of the friction that's been evident between, like,
still have the right to due process? Sorry.
What do you think of some of the friction that's been evident between some of the police forces and ICE? They've been saying that ICE are acting outside of their jurisdiction. You know, I've seen the New York videos where they go, not on my block. This is my block. You know, stand down. I've seen that type of stuff, and so this is kind of this is the spin that some people are putting on it. That ICE are these kind of the henchmen for Trump, and it's kind of worrying because they're kind of acting outside of the law in some ways. They're acting outside of what is allowed in the states they're in. They're acting above and beyond what the states want to be the situation in terms of law and order. They're coming in, ruling the roost without any say from the governor or whatever. I mean, is that the case? Do you see anything in that line of thought?
No, I see the Supreme Court has sided with Trump numerous. It's over. Stop fighting him. He has the absolute. Yeah, he's the executive branch.
It's way before that, though.
How's that?
He's not the judicial branch. You just said it. He's the executive branch. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
The complaint that people are making that these people aren't like out of their jurisdiction or not following the law of the states, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the legal system of the United States. They are federal agents. Their jurisdiction is the entire United States and its territories.
It's a bit like FBI or coming in, isn't it? It's like they're acting outside of the state jurisdiction. They have orders from higher up. That's the way it is, right?
And as long as they're following federal rules and they're only enforcing what they're supposed to enforce, which in this case is immigration, they don't have to give us a single fart about what the state wants. The immigration is the sole power to the federal government.
So going back to Nuance point, she tried to make this point that he wasn't in danger. But he may have shot her because she was potentially going to endanger the crowd or whatever. Although I didn't see a crowd around the car. But if maybe that was outside his jurisdiction, maybe he should have handed that over to the police in the area. If it was outside of his remit. But you're saying no, he was an agent of the government, an agent of the law. He had the right to act, even though it wasn't about immigration.
Well, yeah, because this is a case of self-defense, right? It doesn't really matter. If he was a citizen, right? If he wasn't a cop and he was in front of the vehicle and had a gun, it would be the exact same situation.
No, I think he's going to. I think they're going to struggle on the self-defense of himself because I think he was out of the way. But I think they're going to push defense of others, which is you're allowed. That is a defense as well. They're going to say like she was endangering others, because he was at the side of. Initially, he was endangered, but when he then stood aside, and when he shot the shot, he was, as I said, at the side of the car. He wasn't physically in danger, but. I presume they're going to run with the fact that, for all they knew, she was going to drive off into a crowd. That's what they're going to say, that that officer was defending the public from her. And you think he had a right to do that?
She had a right to be detained.
Actually, any person has the right technically to do that.
I did, Brother Marcus, I did see the video. As far as the one I saw, it looked like he was standing at the side when he took the shot.
Car,
at the last second, just his arm was still over the bonnet, but his body was to the side of the car.
It's the cop behind him. It's the cop behind him. The guy who had his arm in the vehicle, trying to unlock the door, was not the one that's not the one who drew. There's a cop behind him who was actually in front of the vehicle. Yeah.
And he was always there, was he? He didn't move away from the
right. Exactly.
You can see it from the back angle. You can see the cop that shot her.
Okay.
He actually walks in front of the vehicle. He's going around the front of the vehicle.
I'll find it for you, DNW. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, please, that'd be good.
By the way, I think I upset one of your mods because that comment that you showed got me timed out.
Which one was that?
The last one that you showed of mine. It only matters if he feared for his life. Not so much what you saw.
Okay.
Some censoring.
Well, there's lots of moderators on the channel, so they all have their views on moderation. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully UF Dogs will find that video. So, guys, are you worried this is going to be like George Floyd on steroids? This is going to escalate?
Private chat. It's not the best quality, but hopefully that's enough.
Okay. Are you worried this is going to escalate nationwide? It's going to, because George Floyd caused a lot of problems for you.
Yeah, and it woke us up. It shook us up, and I think they're going to try. There's a lot of money behind that stuff right now. They're going to try. I'll say that. I have no doubts of that. Whether they'll succeed, because I think people are sick of it. I think people are just getting sick of this over here, because that's not our natural way. We actually try to get along, and really, for the most part, man, it works. Yes, there's crime, and yeah, you got your crazies a lot more now than ever. But yeah, they're going to try, but I don't know if they'll succeed. We'll see. What do you say?
Any other Americans here? What do you think?
I have hope, but starting to fade.
It's starting to fade, and why is that?
Yeah, there's not just this ICE shooting going on. There's holy fuck, the whole thing with fucking Venezuela and Greenland, Mexico, Colombia. Fuck, man. The whole rest of the world. This is
Is that Greenland thing for real? I don't know. I wasn't sure if it was just piss taking.
Yes, we've wanted Greenland for many decades.
Okay.
Trump is the second president in my life that has breached the subject.
Okay.
and they won't. As far as I can tell, the official narrative from the White House is they won't rule out using military force. They won't come right out and say that.
I would normally be worried about that, but if you ask Trump on any subject, would you rule out using military force? He's going to go no, because he doesn't want to rule anything out. He's trying to negotiate something.
Yeah, that's a good point, sir.
I mean, this video is terrible, but okay.
Try the second one, but just turn off the music because it's inappropriate.
Oh, sorry.
That's about as good
you
as
sent
the
me another
front
one,
angle
did you?
gets, though.
Yeah, she does. It seems like she's coming at him quite fast there. The faster than it looked in the other video I saw. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't much time for him. It was really fast. It was like within a second, I think the whole thing happened.
Yeah, this is the angle I was talking about when I first came in here, where he's in front of the vehicle, but you can't tell if he stepped out of the way or if he got pushed out of the way because he's like right next to it. But he was at one point in front of the vehicle. That is shown on the other video.
When did she get shot? Is that the officer that shot her?
Yes.
Yeah, the one at
who drew.
The one at the front corner.
Yeah, and you can see him drawing in a video. But the wheels were spinning.